Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Click R3, number 25. What a week. What a week. Well, for Ryan mostly. Kind of me too.
Oh,
Kind of the gaming industry in general. But Ryan's been he's been off the grid a little bit, man.
I was very much on the grid, John.
Well, that's debatable.
Very much on the grid. Terrible weekend to not be around because it was busy as hell.
I was gonna say it was wow, you picked a week to go away. You did where you want to tell people where you were, Ryan?
Hold on, but I didn't pick this, right? I picked this a while ago, and then it just worked out to where it was the same weekend.
That is kind of true. That is a good point.
I always go to Pokemon Go Fest whenever it's announced, whatever city they go to, whatever weekend they choose. I tend to go out to it, and they decided, you know what? Let's make Ryan's life a bit more difficult because that's the same weekend for Summer Game Fest, for the Xbox Game Showcase, for the Death Stranding 2 game premiere, and also a few days after the State of Play. This is like the weekend of video game goodness. We have so much goddamn stuff to go over, John.
I know. We're going to have to like speed run, so there's so much.
Ton going on. So, yeah, I was busy. I got home last night. So, oh, and like this was like a day after my flight, the day after, right, was like before the Switch 2. So I also went out and picked that up, and I only got to play it for like an hour, if that. So I got no time on a new console, and that's always exciting. It's actually sitting right here.
You did pick it up. That's right, you did.
Yeah. Sitting right here, right in front of me, because I still had no place to even put it anywhere just yet. So I just docked it right in front of my computer.
I actually, it's interesting. The Switch 2 kind of plays into this because the Sony handheld thing came up again.
Mm-hmm.
And I have some newfound excitement after using the Switch 2 for Sony's device.
It is so funny you say that because I feel the exact same.
Right?
I immediately felt that like sense of like, man, this would be really, really awesome if PlayStation does come with a local handheld. So we do have that news later in the show.
All right,
for
cool.
Sure.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to hear your Pokemon Go adventure went well.
Oh, it went very well. Caught lots of Pokemon out in Jersey City, which was basically just go there for one day and then you go back to Manhattan.
Okay, that's nice then.
Yeah. All right, you want to jump into some of these news stories? We got minor stories, of course, as always, alongside our major stuff. Actually, you know what? I do want to ask you prior to our stories, though. How is MindsEye?
Oh man,
it doesn't seem like you're enjoying it.
The MindsEye slander already starting up.
I didn't say anything.
I've played a little over 4 hours of it now, and it's not great. It is. It's sad because you get the PS5 Pro thinking the third party games are going to be best played there, and it's kind of played the same everywhere except I guess on PC if you have a strong enough video card and processor you can brute force higher frame rates, but then people are posting that it's crashing so much they end up just getting it on the console anyway. So it's just locked at 30. It says it's PS5 Pro enhanced on the store, but it's just locked to 30 because whenever I see that, I go, "Oh, PS5 Pro enhanced. We're in the age of performance and quality modes. Surely there's a performance mode in there that'll give me 60 frames, or at least uncapped frame rate. Doesn't exist, and the game itself doesn't look good enough to warrant the frame issues that it has. But even beyond that, the story, the voice acting, the cinematics, the mocap, all that stuff I think is above average. It's just like everything else around it isn't. The performance, the visuals at times when you're actually in gameplay, then the gameplay itself, very basic third person shooter. I mean, like you have a weapon wheel that I think 6 weapons fit into. There's a trophy for getting all the weapons in the campaign. I'm missing 1 weapon and I'm 4 hours in.
You're missing one of 6. One of 6, huh?
I see 1 more. So, and you just pick them off of people after they fall down. You shoot them a couple times, they fall over, and you just pick up weapons. AI is not very smart. It's weird. We talk about padding in some games where it's like, man, they were really trying to stretch like the playtime of this game out. It's so obvious in this game that's what they're doing, to where I feel like I'm going to beat the game, and I think it's like 11 or 12 hours to beat it or something like that.
Oh, wow. That's short.
Yeah, I kind of feel like 30% of it is just driving between points for no reason. I mean, there was one I did where it was like 7 or 8 minutes of just driving, following a line, and I like crashed into something and I hit an extra civilian. And it was like, you killed too many civilians. You got to start over. The checkpoint was before I drove for 7 minutes. So I just drove for another 7 minutes. Like I spent 15 minutes driving, doing nothing in this game. And that's constant. It just keeps happening. And it's just extremely linear. So it's not like an open world game where I take a mission, just like I did it, on the other side of the map. Oh, I got to drive over there, whatever. I'm the one who took the mission over here. They know where you're taking the mission every time to start. It's just, for some reason, everything is like 4 or 5 miles away at all times. So can't recommend it at the 60. I will say it might end up being a good $10 to $15 like popcorn game one night where you're like, let me play a game that's just not well put together and is almost so bad it's funny. Let me do that. And then maybe it's a fun little purchase.
I didn't think the performance issues were that bad. I mean, I definitely heard things, but it's like that.
Dude, in the beginning, it's a shame. I recorded the first hour and then Elgato betrayed me and the footage was just barely there. I don't know. For some reasons, occasionally that happens to me when I use this thing. But it was stuttering in the opening cutscene bad. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And it does that thing where it changes camera angle. Like it'll do a camera cut. And for some reason, everything in the scene reset and it takes a second to pop in real quick. And you kind of notice those cuts where textures have to load in like a couple milliseconds, but it's enough for you to notice it happen all the time. So it's just, the game just wasn't ready to release and it feels like they pushed it out the door and they'll patch it later kind of thing.
Ugh. In a weird sadistic way, I kind of want to play it more now.
I will say, I don't think the platinum is going to be very hard in this game.
That's where my mind immediately went. I'm like,
I think I'm going to platinum MindsEye, and it's going to be one of the saddest things I've ever done.
Like, this could be a fun platinum video. Maybe just play some like sort of dumpster fire that's like done in like 15 hours, maybe. I don't know.
There's 30 trophies. I have 12 of them so far.
Well, quantity means nothing if one takes like 50 something hours.
I don't think any of them are difficulty based though.
I'm going to have to look into this for sure.
There's no real collectibles in the game that I've seen.
Everything about it just sort of screams like, maybe when this game's like $10.
It's maybe. Like a game from 2008.
If anything, maybe, here's the thing. That's what attracts me to it. But maybe this is also more of a, like, within 6 months, PS Plus Essential kind of game.
Kind of thinking so. I think this game's going to go on sale very quickly. I think they'll probably take a deal from either Microsoft or Sony to get it into a service. That's all stuff I could see in the future of this game.
Right. Well, speaking of PS Plus, let's talk about some extra and premium games that were announced for June. This lineup goes live on June 17th, so very soon. You've got FBC Firebreak. That's a day one launch title going into Extra. You've also got Battlefield 2042, Five Nights at Freddy's, Help Wanted 2, The Hunter, Call of the Wild, We Love Katamari Reroll, plus Royal Reverie, Euden Chronicle 100 Heroes, and then Train Sim World 5, and also Endless Dungeon. That's on Extra. And then we have one lone premium game, Deus Ex for PS2, which was also announced during the State of Play there. But hey, I'll tell you, play Katamari. If you've not played Katamari games, play Katamari.
Katamari's it's a different game. It's like, if you've never tried it before, try it just because it's going to be so unique and different from anything else around it. Just to see what you think.
I think everybody that's ever watched my channel knows I always just constantly talk about Katamari, so you've got no excuses. For the love of God, play that game.
Deus Ex though,
yes,
that might be one for the history perspective to try out. You know what I mean?
Oh, without a doubt. That's the kind of game where it's great to have it like playable on new hardware. You hear about it all the time, how influential it was. It's just one of those things where, like, even if you're not willing to like see it all the way through, just download it, pop in, and see what that game is all about.
What those trophies look like.
See what, if it has trophies. Actually, you know what? Speaking of trophies, Train World Sim 5, I think this game has like hundreds of trophies. Like hundreds upon hundreds of trophies. And I think it's like, it takes like tens of thousands of hours. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, it's like, I don't want to say impossible, but it's like an insane platinum, I think. I've looked
Sounds
into
like
it
a
one
video,
more.
Ryan.
No, it's not. Not even a little bit. All I know is I remember the one rabbit hole night where I looked into it and I'm like, this game has a ridiculous amount of trophies. It's like 70 something DLC packs and it's like impossible.
Oh, it's the DLC pack. Okay. Yep. That makes
Well,
sense now.
well, you can like get the platinum, but like if you want to get the platinum I think would still take an obscene amount of time, but to like get the full 100 would be absolutely nuts.
Uh, it just feels kind of like a weaker month. FBC Firebreak just isn't really doing it for me. From what I've seen, maybe it comes out and it surprises. Kind of a month. And they've already kind of told us about some of those classics coming up
Yeah.
that I think people have their eyes on. So it's like, okay, maybe not the strongest way to start out the summer, but there's more stuff down the pipeline, maybe in July or August.
I mean, to be honest, I think Plus has been looking for extra and premium at least has been kind of really dragging its feet. They do seem to really be staggering it a bit more with these day one launches. I will check out FBC. I'll play that for a little bit just to see what's going on there because I like the universe a lot. But otherwise, it's like this is the third, fourth, maybe the fifth month in a row where they've done like less than 10 games, I think, or like just right on the money at 10 games. So
You know, it's really that single premium classic game is starting to bug me where there's like, here's one.
just
Here you
I know,
go.
I know. It used to be like 3.
Yeah.
Now it's a
Like
1.
PS1, PSP games? No. Okay. The lone PS2.
I mean,
Okay.
I could mention this real quick. So, like, part of the state of play announcement was they called out Deus Ex. What we know is coming up later in July is Twisted Metal 3 and 4,
Right.
which it's like you don't have that context of, oh, they called out Deus Ex. Is there more? But it's like, oh no, it was only Deus Ex.
It was
And
Deus Ex.
and now I'm thinking like, okay, so Twisted Metal 3 and 4 is indeed the only July games. And then
Yep.
Resident Evil 2 and 3 they announced for summer. They said summer. I don't know why they're not saying August. I would assume it's August. But
Right.
you're going to get RE2 and 3, which I'm thinking if they show up in August, probably the only games you're getting in August. Which, as another little tangent, that those are Capcom games. So you might run into a situation of no trophies and they're paywalled behind premium,
Ooh,
like they were with Director's Cut, which
that's right.
as a reminder to folks, now it still doesn't have trophies, but now you can buy it separately. And I believe grandfathered purchases are like honored. So if you did buy it on PS3 years ago, you should be entitled to re-download it without premium. But it was like a year where it was paywalled behind premium. I don't know if that'll be the same case for 2 and 3, but that's just important to call out. So that's what's going on with PS Plus. We do have a new PS5 system software update, though. 25.04, 11.40. They've improved the messages and usability on some screens. That is the only changelog item. However, there actually is a fix in there where Sony addressed the VRR micro stuttering issue, which is this really bizarre thing. I guess depending on your own sort of tolerance, you might not notice it. But when you're playing like a high frame rate mode game, like a 120 mode setting or something, you'd have this weird micro stutter that would occur every like 6 seconds or something like that. It's a really weird thing, but your frame rate would spike just briefly to 120, and it creates a really jarring effect. So like a lot of people noticed this. Digital Foundry did a whole thing about it I don't know, like it popped up like 5-6 months ago or something. And so
Yep.
SIE was made aware and now they've addressed it in this recent patch, which they didn't like say it on the change log, which I think is always important to remember is that whenever we laugh at these software updates where they just say like improved stability or improved usability on some screens, sometimes they are indeed actually fixing things. So
At least I got
that
that VRR thing figured out because that was a big thing online there for a little bit.
Yeah. It's funny. I didn't really notice it that much, which is kind of odd because it definitely does stick out in some cases, but it was like showing up in only like a handful of games. So it is fixed though. It is fixed. Now another really weird thing though, on the PlayStation Twitter account, and this is just so weird how they do this. This is how they announced it on Twitter of all places, not on a blog post, but they did confirm that there's a new update coming for the DualSense. So the DualSense software is going to get updated to where you can now pair it to multiple devices at once. And again, not a blog post. Don't know why they chose to just tease this on Twitter, but they said later this year you will be able to do this.
That is kind of random. I don't know if they're thinking we'll sell more DualSenses now if we just at least make that announcement for people to know this. But the Xbox Series controller can do this, and the way it works is you double tap sync button and it changes between synced profiles. So I assume the DualSense controller will have some kind of button combination or double tap somewhere that does the same thing.
I mean, maybe. The only thing I would just be fine with is just knowing that you can pair it to multiple devices and you don't have to resync. Like
Right.
take it from somebody that's constantly like moving around consoles, controllers, just for videos, obviously. But God, it's a huge pain in the ass. This is like such a huge quality of life update whenever it does eventually show up. So you will
Also, a
no
lot of people like
longer.
using it for, PC as well. It's a good controller for that, especially in the fighting game. I know people like to use Fight Six, but it's very clear that Sony with Evo and stuff, it's like the DualSense is still being pushed heavily in PlayStation controller. So just having it between platform, I mean, it works well for like an emulation station box for PC. It works well for Android. So if you can just quickly move between devices without, as you mentioned, okay, what's the sync combination again? I mean, okay, you got to go through all that.
Well,
Much better.
it's the wire is the problem. Like if I assign a DualSense to one PS5 and I naturally think, oh, this is the one I always use for my console upstairs or something. But if I synced it to the one downstairs, then I got to pull the cable out again. It's a huge pain in the
Right.
ass. So thank God that's coming at some point. We do have some bad news here. Ben's studio hit with layoffs. So this was reported by Jason Schreier and then confirmed by the studio. About 30% of staff were laid off on Tuesday. So that's about 40 people since their canceled live service game earlier this year. And they were shipping Days Gone Remastered. So after that being done, they're spinning up a new project, but they did get hit with some recent layoffs. Which I don't know if people remember, but John, this was like directly my concern, which
Yep.
was now that they canceled the live service game and you've still got some staff wrapping up Days Gone Remastered, what is going to happen with the studio? I mean, I feel like almost did I say they were probably going to get hit with layoffs? Because you can't if well, now that the remaster's out, they're spinning up a new project. You don't need the full team to you've got a bunch of people
Right.
sitting around doing nothing. So
Yeah.
I hate that this happened, but like I'm not even a little bit surprised because
It
days it's out.
yeah. It's kind of a shame that they couldn't be used for something else at Sony at that time, because you're right. They're gonna be in this holding pattern almost for a little bit as they say spin up, but really conceptualize their next project. That I mean, can we just say it now with Ben? It's a PS6 game. Like that's the move now. They're just working on a PS6 game at this point. The fact they have to lay off, what was it, 40%?
For 30%, which is
30%, 40 people.
about 40 people. So if we think Ben's up to like 120, 30 staff, I mean, you just don't, you can't, what are those people going to be working on? Like,
The thing that's a shame is they're going to probably hire 40 people in like 2 years so, to do it. So like you're in this holding pattern. It's like, oh, okay, well, we don't need them right now. We got to figure out our PlayStation 6 game. So
yeah,
that's
that's the,
unfortunate.
that's the main issue. Like Days Gone Remastered gave a portion of that studio like something to do. It's kind of why these things are always just kind of semi-complicated to talk about. It's like, oh my god, why are they remastering this game? Well, gives the studio something to do. Well, you've got the other portion of the team sort of doing the early concept vertical slice, then building up into a pre-production, then going into full production. Like just as you said, if this next game they work on, if they settle on it, they start reaching some milestones, they're going to hire staff back. If we assume that the game progresses smoothly, which is no guarantee.
Can we also, I mean, is there a chance that they come off of this live service project that got canceled? There's a chance now, maybe they're like, you know what, let's go back to single player or like local multiplayer, get away from the live service thing. And there are probably people they hired specifically for working on live service games then. So that's the cold-blooded nature of just business in general. That's also, the gaming industry.
Yeah. It's a shame that they couldn't find something else to do in the interim. But I'm not even remotely surprised by this news. It's
When do you
definitely,
think when do you think we see Bend again, Ryan?
dude. I mean, that's the thing. Like it's exactly what you said. PlayStation 6. It's such a tragedy. Like that, it's going to take this long for Ben to do something new. honestly, I mean, if their next thing gets if they can't reach a certain milestone or something, I don't know how Ben survives that. Like
Yeah.
as awful as it sounds, like how do they survive another 1 or 2 years working on something and they can't reach a milestone and that gets canceled too?
The thing that would be a shame is if they, let's say that does happen and they never even attempted a Days Gone 2, like never tried to spin it up or pitch it again. They just kept trying to do something else. And it's like, that feels like it's right there to do. I don't know. It's
That's
maybe that's the move now. They're spinning up a new project. It's codenamed something. It actually ends up being Days Gone 2. And maybe
that's if
that's
they
the move.
want. That's if they want to.
That's true.
I mean, I know people want like a Days Gone too, but I don't think the staff that are there want to do it. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, it could get to a point now where as we say with that sort of relationship between an SI owned studio and SI themselves, they're not necessarily assigned anything, but maybe they'll start feeling some pressure of we really have to make sure the next one we do gets out the door. Maybe then they would come around to the idea of Days Gone 2. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like some of the live service pitches and attempts were somewhat pressure related. It feels like some of them were kind of pressure related, the way that they pivoted off of them, or that like Naughty Dog's saying, nah, we're not going to do Last of Us Online now. Things like that. It's like, if everything around you is getting greenlit because it has live service written on it, I mean, you're more inclined to write live service on this project to figure it out later. So maybe it is like, you know what? Let's go back to what we know. Well, let's build on that third person open world action adventure game. Let's make Days Gone 2. Or maybe
Well,
they
that's
take what they learned there and they make something brand new.
John, that's what they were doing. They were doing something brand new, open world systems, Days Gone. It would have multiplayer, obviously, but that's what they were doing. Didn't work. Whatever they were doing didn't work.
Live service betrayed them.
Well, something betrayed them.
Mm.
Did not hit a milestone build, I would presume. We do have some news for Arrowhead, though. Tencent has acquired 15% in the company, so about 15.75%, valued at $80 million. So the studio's valuation is roughly $532 million.
Wow.
The Arrowhead co-founder Johan Pielstedt did say this opens up opportunities for China as a market. Gaining access to the Chinese player base is, quote, the holy grail in the gaming industry. And this is just off the back of some recent comments about how the studio is going to be going into their next title completely 100% self-funded, self-published, which was not a knock to PlayStation as a partner, just that they have the success to go off and try their own thing. I would imagine this is very much a play of that. I would think that this stake is for them kind of doing their own thing going into the next title.
Yeah, Tencent's just betting on an up and coming studio. I like people. Tencent's not trying to take over Arrowhead. From what I would look at this, it's just, hey, we can get in kind of on the ground floor a little bit as they break away from Sony to attempt their own thing completely. And if it works for what we assume is going to be them, with maybe with their own, not necessarily like full live service, but ways to monetize further. Tencent's like, let's get on the ride now. Let's go. So that's investment. That's all it really is. I see it as
investment. It's a good play though, if they are looking to capture that market.
Oh yeah.
I guess we can start with a lot of the Summer Game Fest, State of Play, Xbox Game Showcase, all this stuff going on, right? We've got the State of Play, which was first, and that was on June 4th. June 4th, they announced the State of Play. I mean, for all intents and purposes, like whether it was late May or early June, like it was in that, like pretty much in that same window, basically. So the State of Play, I mean, there's a lot of stuff we can mention. I mean, what stood out to you from this thing? I mean, because Marvel Tokon was kind of the finisher there for their.
That's the one that everyone looks to. Let me pull this up. The State of Play.
So for me, the one that they open with Luminous.
Oh, you were gonna say Luminous Arise.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I was gonna say. I just pulled it up. There it is.
Well, I'm a Luminous fan, so I did kind of lose my shit at that trailer. But Pragmata's back. Hey,
I know. I was happy to see that come back too. It's good because I was worried that would be one of those games where it's just like a deep down and we just never see it again, or like a Wolverine or something. This is gone. Now, I mean, Pragmata looked. You know what? The thing I liked about it is it looked different, looked interesting. So that's nowadays, I feel like that's what I'm looking for more and more whenever we see a showcase, whether it's Summer Game Fest or kind of like State of Play, what looks different from everything else around it? Because these games, sometimes they show back to back to back to back, and you're like, wow, another space game, another zombie game. It's like, well, these games look very similar. This had a bit of a style to it that I liked, and I don't know, I'm curious the relationship there between the what looked like an astronaut and the psychic girl, I guess.
Psychic girl. Yeah, you're right. It sticks out, I think, a lot. They say it's coming next year. We will see. We will see. They showed gameplay. So you've got Pragmata, which is alive. Silent Hill F gameplay, which has a release date, September 25th, which by the time we're recording this, we're going to get another Konami live stream, and they're going to show more of that game and MGS. So you've got Silent Hill, Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles.
Yes, sir.
Looks gorgeous. I like that they've got those two settings for the game, so you can play in classic or the slightly refined new look.
The one thing that kind of bothers me about that is that apparently the voice acting is only on the enhanced side, but not on the classic side. And people are, yeah, I know that's I've had that same reaction.
What?
And yeah, see, because people don't like the kind of the blurred outlines and the filter over it. Yeah, that was kind of unfortunate. So people are hoping that maybe they'll reconsider that. Otherwise, though, that's an easy pickup, right? You get that physically, nice Final Fantasy Tactics there on the we'll say the PS5. Go for the platinum. Is that a platinum title right there for you?
I'm not like, here's the thing. I'm not a huge tactics person.
Okay.
I do like it though. I do like it a lot. My problem with like I think it's, I don't know. It's like the level scaling. I like being able to, if I'm having trouble, like just go grind, and then it's like easier for me. I never really enjoyed that portion of it.
Man, I like Tactics. Then Tactics Advance was awesome. It's just been a good line of releases till kind of recently when they just stopped doing it. So I'm happy to see it come back. It's gonna be really cool.
Can't believe they really said like, no, the classic mode is classic. You're not getting voices. You're not getting voices.
It was kind of unfortunate.
They do have a release date for it, though. I mean, like, most of this was like a lot of release dates, which is good, of course, because that's kind of the whole point of this summer weekend was like, oh, okay, well, that Meteor is actually coming next year, so we can confirm these dates. Tactics is September 30th. Baby Steps is coming.
Okay, what's the fascination with this game? Why have I seen it at multiple state of plays now?
September 8th, John, if you're curious, September 8th, because it's silly. I think it's funny. I'm totally playing this game. This shit looks hilarious. It's very, you know what it is? Maybe it's like me drawing that parallel of like that early, like that first year of PS4 and Vita, where like you had like Octodad, and it's just like the game where it leans into the whole like actually just controlling this thing is a pain in the ass. So.
What's that game, Quap or whatever? You had to like be the Olympic runner and hit the keyboard, and like and people the first thing would happen is they go, you just fall over.
Yeah, it really is like Quap. Oh man, it's probably gonna be pain. Oh no, I Am Bread too. That was another one. I Am Bread.
That was a good one.
Slice of bread going up the kitchen countertop. What do you think of Romeo is Dead, or Romeo is a Dead Man, the new Suda 51 game?
Yeah, they were showing this thing, and I was like, this is some weird looking stuff. And then I go, this is a Suda game. They didn't say it was that. I'm like, this is obvious. Suda's gonna pop up here on the screen at some point, and sure enough, there he is. It's a Suda game. I don't know. It's weird. It's like that No More Heroes vibe to it.
Yeah. I that was not immediately obvious to me since I'm not super familiar with their games, but it's funny how like a lot of people picked up on that as they're watching it.
I mean, dude, they put out weird games. That's all there is to it. But action games, obviously, as you see here. So I'll get it just because it's weird looking. So why not? Another Suda game. Throw it on the pile.
Everybody's Golf Hot Shots.
Let's go. There it is.
September 5th for PlayStation 5, and well, there's other platforms in there, but Sony's not saying that on their show.
Well,
we have the official PlayStation fighting stick, Project Defiant.
Some foreshadowing here.
Some heavy foreshadowing. Though, I mean, it makes sense though. when when I was watching that, I was thinking, oh, okay, another like officially licensed stick. I'm like, oh no,
Mhm.
they're making this in house, which that is going to be. It'll work for PS5 and PC. Uses the PlayStation Link wireless protocol. So if you have like a Pulse Elite or something, you can use that little dongle. You could connect a cable if you want to. And on the PS blog, they say it features toolless interchangeable restrictor gates, square, circle, and octagon, and then mechanical switches. It has a touchpad like the DualSense, and more details will come later this year or something like that. Comes out next year. Comes
You a
with a
big
premium,
fight
no,
comes what?
a premium carrying case as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
you a big fight stick person?
obviously not.
Okay.
Pe-
Yeah, no.
people know I'm not a fighting game person, so
They showed. I said that looks really cool, but I think a lot of fight sticks look cool. So what do I know? I don't know. They always look all fancy and stuff when people show up to these. Like we used to do tournaments back in the day at the old store, and people would come in with color coded full backgrounds of like Street Fighter or Guile or something, and all the buttons match where his hair is, and then like his green gear and stuff, and it looks super cool and fancy. But that's kind of where it ends for me because I don't know. I'm not a big fighting game person either, so I don't
oh,
know.
there you
They have
go.
it apparently in
Perfect.
certain spots and stuff for their moves, and I don't know, but looks cool.
It looks cool. It's within their interest.
Yeah.
They've got joint ownership of Evo. We've also got that Metal Gear Solid Delta trailer showing off Snake versus Monkey mode, and I didn't catch this when I was watching it, but
I know what you're about to say. Yep.
they
Yep.
teased MGO
A certain
one.
person came in swinging in the Twitter DMs with like all caps with RGT because he said that's Metal Gear Online, like real excited. He's ready to go for that.
Yeah, he is a huge fan of that, huh?
Yeah, he noticed it right away. He's like, "Dude, that's Metal Gear Online." It's like, oh, well, okay. We kind of thought about that a little bit. I mean, a while, not even when it was first revealed, but I think maybe the second time they showed it. Wouldn't it be cool if they had like the online for that? They're not going to do it. It looks like they're doing it. And in fact, I guess this will be the Konami stream already happened. I assume they're showing it at the Konami stream.
Yeah, I would think they're probably going to do a deep dive on that. I mean, we all kind of assumed like, oh, it's just like the single player game.
Yep.
They weren't going to touch on MGO, so that was neat. That was neat for sure. Neo 3 was announced for PlayStation 5 early 2026. That'll be PS5 and PC, which Neo 1 and 2 were like only on PS4 for a little bit until they got PC releases. But otherwise, that's going to be another like console exclusive. The demo is available right now, by the way, so you can play the game, and it's only available until like June 17th or something. I want to say 18th. So you have a limited window to play that game.
Yeah, it's just kind of a test phase. Get
Yeah.
feedback, close it down. Really, that's it.
Thief VR, Legacy of Shadows, coming to PSVR 2. That looks pretty tight. New Astrobot levels.
It said VR afterwards. I feel like a lot of people were like, "Oh,
For
no."
me. All right.
Yeah, I know.
VR, PSVR.
It's like you see Thief, you're like, "Oh, it's interesting. Thief's coming back VR." Oh, okay.
Well, what's nice is that the trailer. It's not like they like showed a title card and then showed the game. Like they showed gameplay immediately.
Yeah, yeah.
So you weren't being led astray here. It was a VR game right from the get go. But John, the Astrobot levels, new Astrobot stuff. Come on.
Yep. Big day in the household here. Kids are ready, excited. They're excited for it. 5 stages, new bots. Saw got some Ghost Yote action in there.
Got Atsu in there. And you're gonna get the new controller variant. The controller's coming back.
I'm a little confused. Is the difference just the fact that it's like he's squinting, Aster squinting instead?
Yeah, that's
yeah. I already have the one. I don't need the other one.
All right.
I mean, that's cool. I like this. They're still supporting it. I feel like at this point, it's more like just, I assume just because it was a game of the year winner, an on stage big thing. They're like, yeah, let's keep going with it. It's a brand we want to get behind.
That was the read to me. I think that was like the genuine sort of like that's a direct consequence of it doing so well. Whereas all the content we've got up to this point was definitely like on the roadmap already. So
Yeah.
I think they got the green light to do a little bit more and reprint the controller basically.
It's the only thing that's a shame though, I will say, is I kind of wish Astrobot had that huge press release for sales at this point, because it's very clear that Sony can use it to also kind of market new games coming up. As you mentioned, Atsu is in it, right? It's like, oh, let's go see Yote. Okay, cool. You can start to market some of your games more and more through Astro Astrobot more effectively if it's like, wow, we sold 10 million copies of this game. So yeah, unfortunately, it's maybe a game that's just a little slower necessarily to move copies like this. Although we don't really get a lot of sales updates from Sony, so who knows? Maybe it's doubled or something in sales for at this point.
Yeah, they just don't ever. Well, I don't want to say ever, but as you said, they're really picky with sales milestones for some reason. The other like two big announcements. Well, what the weird thing is that with Ghost of Yotei, they barely showed it, and then they're like, "Oh, just so you know, State of Play deep dive coming in July." So you didn't actually see anything, but they'll talk more about the game next month, which is fine. But the two other big announcements at the State of Play was 007 First Light. So they got the sort of initial announcement, and you saw it at SGF. But there's that, and then Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls, which was definitely a very big surprise. So that's coming to PS5 and PC 2026. It's a PlayStation Studios game by Arc System Works. And the sort of obvious thing is like, well, Sony's got a pretty good relationship with Marvel, so that's probably how they facilitated this, where they went and scouted out a studio that XDev could work with, and so Arc System Works did land that role, and that's crazy. This is nuts. I mean, John, would it be fair to say that there was Helldivers 2, and now there's this? I mean,
this is going to be big. This is going to be a big one for them, obviously, because of their ownership of Evo at this point, right? But just in general, people thought ArcSys was working on Dragon Ball Fighters 2 or something like that. Oh yeah, no, we've actually been working on this game with Marvel and Sony for a while now because it's coming out next year. It's not like it's well, someday it'll come out. It's like, no, we're like maybe 12 months out at the most. Wow, really? Okay. And then they show it and the game looks, the thing with me for fighting games that you want to really catch on for something like Evo, it has to look cool. Like it has to be a game that looks interesting to just watch happen in front of you. It's kind of a boring, even a slower fighting game, which is probably why these tag fighters work so well at something like Evo. So like, oh yeah, it's 4v4. It's like, what? Okay. So they show the gameplay. People are flying all over the place. You know, you got like these Marvel characters hitting each other in the air, and Dr. Doom's like blowing something up over here, and you have Star-Lord doing this cool animation to the camera, and like everything looked so like style, like Arc System Works style, you know, all over with Marvel characters. And the best part about this, and dude, Arc System Works and Sony have to be like, dude, they have to be so excited the fact that going forward, their reveals are going to be just Marvel characters. Here's this Marvel character is going to be in the game, new fighter. That's like one of the easiest things to sell because 90% of the work, you know, building the character and the lore is done. It just seems like a slam dunk all the way around. So I get why the fighting game community was like losing their mind when this got shown.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm clearly out of my like realm here as far as fighting game stuff goes. I didn't even realize like that was like this sort of like interesting hook of like, oh, it's 4v4. Like that was like totally lost on me. I had to like ask my buddy about it, and he's like, "Oh, 4v4 is really interesting." And I'm like, "Oh, wait a minute, yeah," because like most of them are either like 2v2 or like at the most 3v3.
Yep.
But I mean, yeah, I don't want to ever say something's a slam dunk before it comes out. But like, my God, if this is very clearly going to be a sort of ongoing multiplayer game with character reveals and a season pass and content updates, a roadmap. Like, is this not going to be probably like propped up as very likely a successful live service game?
It looks like the new age Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Well, that's what it looks like, and that's big time for Arc System Works too to get that kind of a contract to be working on this Marvel game. Those sorts of ties, they've been on the come up for a long time now. So I get this feels like the big project for them.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting that PlayStation Studios was the one that was facilitating this.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously they have ties to Marvel. Clearly, the Spider-Man games, Wolverine coming up. It's kind of, I assume that idea got pitched around. They said the person at Arc System Works said that they like met with the person from Sony basically in a bar. They're like, hey, would you like to do a new fighting game with Marvel? It's like, oh yeah, okay. That was kind of it. It's like, can we pull it off, sort of thing from there. So seems like at least from initial showing, I think they're doing it. I think they're going to make it happen. I think it's going to be good.
maybe we'll see. I'm out of my depth here. I'll sit and watch the fighting game community on this one. This is also one of those things where it's like, all right, I'll go consult Max on this. I'll look at Maximilian, dude, see what he
He was like
says.
upside down, dude, in his chair. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
It's like you can like get a sense of like, oh, this was big. This was a
Yeah.
huge thing. Shocking. And it's the Sony sort of, I guess, their first formal partnership with Arc System works in that way, as far as, an exclusive title goes, exclusive console wise. Obviously, that's what it looks like nowadays, console and PC, but good Lord.
I don't play a lot of fighting games, but I will say Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was one that I had fun with and enjoyed and played. And like Soul Calibur 2, maybe Marvel Token. I don't know. It's flashy enough. It looks fun. Maybe
Maybe you'll play it.
Although no, but here's the thing: those games are fun until you go online, and then it's like, oh my gosh, having to go back offline now. Here's what I really hope for the game. By the way, it's a little thing, but it's what I really, really liked back in the day with Marvel vs. Capcom 2. They did a stupid amount of characters. I assume I'm not getting a stupid amount of characters in this game, although maybe they do variations of each character. Maybe each like costume is kind of like an unlockable thing with it. I really liked having the shop from Marvel vs. Capcom 2 where you'd earn points or currency as you played the game, and then you'd spend that on new characters, costumes, whatever. So that'd be kind of cool to have almost like a little cash shop in the game that you get. Well, they'll have a cash shop, but like, like a shop for the currency that you earn in the game to then spend on stuff. So that's something I like to have, that feeling of start with 4 characters and then you build out from there.
I'm thinking you're probably going to get a lot of characters over time.
Yeah.
That you could very well earn, or you bust out that wallet.
The real cheat code.
The real cheat code. It literally is like the most powerful card in all of existence, and it's your credit card.
Ryan, what'd you think of that 007 game?
I have no interest. I'll be clear.
Really? No?
I don't know.
It looks good.
I mean, does it?
You don't think so? Really? Oh man, it looks really cool.
I think it looked fine. I wasn't like sitting there going, "Oh my god, this is fucking insane."
Really?
No way.
Oh, I think visually looks cool. I like the idea of like the origin story for Bond. It's more action based, it looks like, than what they've been doing with Hitman. I mean, there's still some stealth stuff in there, and I think it looks high quality from what they've shown so far.
I'm not opposed to it. Maybe okay. I sound like a lunatic, but I'm sitting here, dude. The big thing for me was Luminous. Come on. Should we really like take what I say for like
the thing is luminous, and you're sitting there still wondering, how's that MindsEye Platinum looking?
Yeah, like obviously we can throw my opinion in the garbage here, but can we go back to Luminous for a second? PSVR 2 support.
That'd be cool. I mean, look, Tetris Effect looks awesome in PSVR 2, right?
Hell
like, come
yeah.
on. So, yeah, it's gonna look good. They're gonna have the music to go with it. That's gonna happen.
Oh god, the music, that's like half the game with Luminous is the music.
It's the atmosphere. The atmosphere with Tetris Effect is unmatched in VR. Like especially if you have the good headphones. You can use headphones they come with. If you have like the good ones where it just kind of blocks out sound in the room, dude, that's almost like you just like completely fade away into that game. It's crazy.
John, I'll tell you, like some of my best memories playing video games is sitting there, 2005 on my PSP, dark room, headphones in, and I'm just doing a full arcade run, going through those 20 skins, making it to the end, looping over, going for a high score. Oh,
okay.
It was good. It was real good. So I can't wait for Luminous.
Good stuff.
Let's talk about Summer Game Fest. That was not.
Oh, there's a demo out later this summer for Luminous, by the way. You'll have to give us your impressions when that drops.
It's amazing. It's Summer Game Fest. What do we think? What we think of Jeffy's show this year, huh? About 2 hours long again. So let me explain. Let me give you context on how I watched this for fun.
Mm-hmm.
The show started when my plane landed. But here's the cool part though. I didn't miss shit. The plane landed, pulled out my phone, had the AirPod in, And I'm just, if as the show's kicking off, I got Jeffy in my ear whispering sweet nothings about an announcement, and I'm grabbing my bag from the overhead bin, and I'm going through the airport watching, and then I'm shuttling to the ride sharing location, still watching good old Jeff and some game announcements. And then I'm Ubering all the way into Manhattan, which takes like more than an hour. So that was basically literally half the show for me, was sitting in the car watching it. So I did watch all of this.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Dedication to the
Now,
craft there.
right. What'd you think?
It still felt long. There were some moments where it was like, man, you know what the problem was? There were times where you didn't know if you were watching a trailer or a commercial. and I know it technically all this stuff that's commercials, but like, you know what I mean? Where it's like, did he just sneak in a block of K-pop gotcha games? Is that what I just watched?
Oh, God.
It was
Hey,
there were some good. I don't want to say there weren't any good announcements. There were some good announcements in here, right? It's not like it was all bad or anything, but
it just
obviously the thing at the end was the big closeout was what everyone's talking about.
yeah, well, but you're right. The show does run long. I feel like every Jeff Keighley show, I think to myself, like, this is like sitting down watching the Titanic. Like I'm gonna be committed for like at least 2 hours, maybe more.
Yeah. Yep.
If
Yep.
I remember that the Titanic runtime is long, I could be wrong about that.
I mean,
Yeah,
right
Ari.
off the bat, right? It was Mortal Shell 2, Fortnite Death Star Sabotage, Death Stranding 2, Chronicles Medieval, and then Sonic Racing Crossworlds. So I'm gonna tell you that, like, the first 5 things, I feel like people were kind of like, oh, okay, we're in for it with Jeff right now. And I will say, right now, Ryan, they gotta stop showing me Death Stranding 2 stuff. I'm good. Stop showing me this stuff. Stop it.
Yeah. I guess we could just like briefly mention and then not talk about it, but like on Sunday after the Xbox game showcase, we had a Death Stranding 2 game premiere, which was like an
I didn't
hour
watch it.
long. No, I mean
watch
I didn't either, but it was an hour long thing. It was basically like a panel. Like I do know,
Yeah.
like I was thumbing through it, like he's just sitting there being interviewed talking about the game. There was more footage that came out. I'm with you. The game's about to come out. I don't really need to see any more.
No.
So
I'm getting the game. I think I'm gonna probably try to get it a little early because we have too many games that weekend, so I get at least some time in with it. That's my plan. But yeah, I'm ready for the game. They don't need to show me anymore. I'm good. Stop spoiling stuff. That's it. That's it.
I'm the thing. I'm sure there's still a lot more, but I really don't need to see anything else for the game. Mortal Shell looked interesting though. I think that was kind of
I didn't really get into Mortal Shell 1, so
it seemed like a strong opening. I was like, oh shit, that's cool.
what do you think of Fortnite Death Star Sabotage?
I don't think much of it, but Mouse PI for Hire was cool. I love this game. I love seeing this one.
That one looks cool. The old, like, obviously the old school cartoon, style is really interesting. What about Felt That Boxing?
I'd have to like rewatch this. I
You
forgot.
know,
I don't
remember,
even.
this is the puppet, like the Muppet game where he's like training up and he's gonna go win a boxing match. And the thing that stood out to me, obviously,
okay,
the
yeah.
graphics look way better than they should. They were saying it was all in real time. I'm like, are you sure?
I remember. Okay, so yeah, now I know what you're talking. Yeah, that at first I was like, what the hell am I watching? That was my
Yeah.
thing. I was like, what is this?
They said it was real time Unreal Engine 5, and I'm like, is it? Wow, it looked really. Then the issue of the gameplay, it was like from behind the perspective of the puppet, and it's like looks like Punch Out, which is fine. That's cool, like a Punch Out game with that. But it's just even like the cutscenes and stuff they had, or the mini game where they're plunging the toilet and stuff. It looked like way better than it should. So I have to see that game come out before I really say what we saw was real.
Yeah, that was a really bizarre looking game. I didn't know what the hell I was watching for like a good portion of that.
Like,
Arc Raiders, October 30th.
Are we playing Arc Raiders?
And well, I'm not playing Arc Raiders.
Oh.
But it seems like a lot of people really enjoyed that beta.
Yeah, the beta apparently went over well. I mean, that's the thing though. It's the game people go, okay, I'm playing that instead of Marathon. That's what seems to be happening online. It's coming out a month after Marathon though, so.
I mean, that's just because the beta periods were like right next to each other. So of course people are kind of comparing them in that sense.
Sure. Yeah.
But I mean, that seems pretty clear. One game had a lot more players than the other. Kind of tells you that there's some enthusiasm for one versus the other.
Oh yeah.
What was Mafia: The Old Country, August 8th.
There, day one.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Mafia's looking good. Wuthering Waves trailer. What else we got going on here?
Mina the Hollower.
Shout out to Celia and Yacht Club Games. Mina looks really fun, man. I love everything about what they're pitching for that. That sort of top-down Zelda-inspired gameplay.
Oh, yeah,
Give it to me.
Old school. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Old 8-bit, 16-bit style. Yeah, that was awesome. So I'm
I'm
checking out the demo is out now on Steam. If you want to help out Yacht Club and Celia, you just wish list it. Apparently that helps a lot from what I've heard.
Comes out on Halloween, October 31st.
Yeah, I know. That's a fun release date. Good. Take the Halloween release date. I like it.
Yeah, Deadpool VR, which was for Oculus Quest 3.
Let's just be real for a minute here, Ryan. Okay. You just said you were excited for the VR game that they showed with Thief. That was good. Okay. Deadpool shows up. All right. You know it's Deadpool right away. Because obviously, you know,
I didn't. Well, it took a while for you to piece together that it was Deadpool.
Were you like, oh, a Deadpool game? And then did you go, oh, a Deadpool VR game?
No, that hit me when there was no PSVR 2. And that's the point I want to make. This is this is the VR rant for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the whole SI should be doing so many more, exclusive VR games. Like the first party team should be doing PS. No, I think it completely is understandable that you're going to be leaning on third party, but you can't keep letting Meta just pick up all these exclusives. You have to. I mean, if you're going to have PSVR 2 thrive off this environment where it's just purely being lifted by third parties, you can't sit there and let MetaQuest get all these exclusives. You have to approach these studios and try and get them on board. And I don't know. It's
especially Deadpool now. Like Deadpool's very popular.
It looked fun and goofy. I'm like, oh, I would totally play this.
There you go.
Yeah. Deadpool VR. I thought it was funny that they they made a joke about like, oh, Marvel got Insomniac got Spider-Man and I got this shit. That was funny. I was laughing when I saw that, or heard that rather. What else is on here? Acts of Blood.
That was cool.
Scott Pilgrim was cool.
Scott Pilgrim's good. I'm glad to see another one. It's the Netflix series did well. So people are still interested in Scott Pilgrim versus the World, right? And that was kind of when you're first watching that Netflix series, you're like, oh, is this just going to be a retelling of it? And then they do something that kind of breaks away from the original storyline. And they bring in time travel and stuff. And I was like, okay, this is a little strange. But I think it came together really well at the end. So I did want to see more, like when it comes to the series and stuff for that. But I'm very happy to see that a new game is coming out. Because Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the video game, is still viewed as like one of the best beat 'em up games of that time. Think of that era of the 360 PS3. People really look back on that. That Castle Crashers, for example. Scott Pilgrim versus the World is up there. So I'm happy to see this one. 4-player online multiplayer is gonna be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Wasn't there another beat 'em up on here? Was it the Hulk game? Where was that? That was another beat 'em up, right?
Which one?
The Hulk game. She-Hulk? Or was it Hulk?
Oh, that was in yeah. There was there's the Marvel game coming out at the end of this year. Cosmic Heroes. Make sure that's right. Yeah, that game does look really good. And they announced new characters for it and showed them off.
Okay.
Let me make sure I have that right.
Yeah, because you had that too.
Cosmic Invasion. Thank you.
Okay, Cosmic Invasion. I'm getting lost on this list.
Yeah, there's a long list of games. They have they have new characters and stuff there. I mean, I already sold on that game, so I'm ready to pick that one up when it drops.
God, there's so much shit at this show. Oh my God.
There's a lot. You're like scrolling through, like, man, this list just keeps going. I made a list of all the games there and like some notes here and there, and it is a long list.
I mean, am I insane for thinking like I'm fine with like an hour-long show?
No, I think that's fine.
I don't think it has to be two. Like the TGAs are like what 2.5 to 3 hours. And
There's a pre-show, and so it really adds up.
in fairness, there's award ceremonies and time slots for speeches and things like that, which I totally get. But
You know
man,
what it was,
these things are
Brian?
long.
Back then with E3, you would occasionally have the 2-hour show if Sony decided they had to move between tents outside and that kind of thing. But for the most part, you get like a 45-minute to an hour event. Nintendo would do what, a 40-minute direct or something. Sony would maybe do like an hour live stage thing or something like that. And then you would have Square Enix, Ubisoft, EA, and stuff break off and do their own thing. Now they all just kind of pile into Summer Game Fest if they have something. So you do end up with this 2-hour show rather than it just being spread out throughout a week, throughout like a Monday or a Sunday through Thursday. I do miss that format.
The format where everything was spread out.
Yes, I would say now the further we get away from the days of E3, the more I miss that.
I was gonna say, I feel like the whole consolidating like point that you were making wasn't really like that. That adds up. I don't know. I think about like when Ubisoft would do their what were they called? Way Forward or some shit like that.
Ubisoft Forward.
Yeah, Ubisoft whatever they were calling it. Like that'd be like 45 minutes, and I don't know. It's like they've got a portion for Just Dance, they've got a portion for this that you don't care about. EA would do their thing, and that would be another like 45-minute thing. Like this, the third party publishers, they would typically be like under an hour. And then platform holders would be an hour, sometimes upwards of 2, depending on how much they had that year. But I don't know. I almost think that maybe, yeah, consolidating it into a 2-hour thing. And then if they do hold their own event, maybe that is, in the interest of time, better.
Yeah, but you also know what you're getting into. So, for example, they had the PlayStation logo here, and sure there are PS5 games, but people went into it thinking Sony's going to announce some stuff here, and it's like not really. So, but if you go into a Sony's E3 show back in the day, you knew you were getting something.
Yeah.
If you went to Ubisoft show, they're probably showing an Assassin's Creed game, or back then a Watch Dogs game, something like that. Even EA or Square Enix, you're probably tuning in and seeing some kind of Final Fantasy, whether it's a remake or the newest one. So it is kind of a sense of, I'll stay up for Square Enix, but I don't really care what Ubisoft is doing. And I'll skip that one.
Yeah, you just skip it. So Resident Evil Requiem, right? That was the big one. What's funny is like halfway through the show when they did that whole sort of fake out, they're like, "Oh yeah, like we need more time," and then they just end the show revealing it. That was funny.
I don't get that. I don't. I guess they were it was part of Jeff's plan to fake people out. They're never going to figure this out. Let's just do it.
I don't know. I think it genuinely caught a lot of people off guard because the damn thing is like everyone expected that it was going to be here. And so to get like halfway into the show, this sort of official announcement in air quotes of, we know you're excited, but we need a little bit more time. And then everybody for that very brief period were kind of like, oh, damn. Well, like they acknowledged it, but I guess it's not going to be they're not going to talk about it just yet. And then that was the show closer. It was Resident Evil Requiem, which is coming out February 27th. So they have a date and everything.
Yeah, I'm glad that it's not even just a year. They have the date in mind, and it's like the last day of February, basically. And if you think about it that way, it's less than 9 months away.
Yeah, it's really soon. Really soon.
It looks good. We got previews today as well, so we know that it is people were wondering, is this a first-person game? Is this a third-person game? It's whatever one you want it to be. They have the option to pick either.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, they're going to be putting a lot of money into this game. Big budget, new Resident Evil. I wish I could say more about this. This is like another topic where like I'm not the biggest Resident Evil fan. If anything, I'm just curious as to whether it'll have a PSVR 2 mode or not at some point.
Yeah, well, if it has first person, I assume it'll at least have that kind of designed around it. But it seems like something that'll come out later on.
Well, that was the same case for Village. It wasn't like a day one thing. Although it's also notable that it showed up at SGF and not the State of Play. So there's been this suggestion and some rumors flying around that some, whatever sort of agreement Sony had with Capcom, where so many Capcom things would show up during State of Plays. Maybe that's expired and they've not renewed or anything like that. So there's no sort of guaranteed partnership or expectation of Capcom stuff showing up at PlayStation nowadays. But I feel like that's, Capcom will shop around wherever they want to show, partner up and show up
I
at
feel
these
like
events.
here's the thing with Jeff Keighley's events. So we know he charges, it had been discussed before, a lot of money for some of these spots. But then also some of these spots that he does are either heavily discounted or, it's my understanding, almost like advertising for him to have it. So in this case, hey, if we close out with RE9, that's big for us. Trickle down effect, get more viewers to then charge more money for the smaller games that are like 70% of the show. So
I imagine that's exactly what it is. There are some, like there's a window of time within the show that is like sort of that free space that they're looking to fill with the really big major announcements. I would think. I don't know if that's for sure a fact, but typically everything else is pretty expensive to get a time slot in there. What's going, John, fill me in with the Splitgate thing. Splitgate 2. Fill me in on this.
it's a free to play shooter, kind of like an arena shooter. They really liked Halo back in the day, and they wanted to make their own sort of arena shooter that was more arcadey and not, let's go the way of Fortnite with Battle Royale. That was kind of the idea at the beginning. This person, I feel like he's the guy who kept apologizing on the Reddit because their servers were broken when they launched the thing. I think that's the person. Shows up on stage, complains about shooters now, says he wants Titanfall 3, wears a make FPS games great again hat, and then announces for some reason a battle royale mode for his game. Which is probably the most egregious thing, is like, I hate how modern shooters are now. Announcing a battle royale for that game, Splitgate 2.
I must not have been paying attention during this part of the show, but like it just kind of like came and went. I didn't think anything of it. Excuse me. And
Everything
then
else I can see as parody, because he is kind of like making jokes here and there of the industry, has his hat on that's obviously a parody of like political stuff. But then he goes, here's a battle royale mode after saying all of that. It's like, oh, all right then.
I think I just totally checked out because I just didn't even pay it. I'm like, all right, Splitgate 2, whatever. And then it just blew up online. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess that when you put it like that, it doesn't really look that good. Battle Royale. Oh, geez. Where have we heard that before?
Right. Yeah. So I don't know if it's good. I haven't played it on Splitgate 2. I did play Splitgate 2. The thing to me with that game, though, is it's kind of limited where you throw. So the idea is it's Portal mixed with Halo. So you have a portal gun basically where you can put a portal down here and then one over there, and you can walk through the portal and come out the other side, which is fine. But they have specific areas where you can put your portal down, so it feels kind of limited. So I didn't really use the portal much. I just shot people.
All right. Well, are you going to play Splitgate 2?
Nah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I have what comes out next week. Rematch comes out next week. I'll be playing that.
Really? You'll be playing that?
Oh yeah, I did the beta and everything. It's very fun. I played it on the PlayStation and I played it on the Xbox, the beta.
I didn't know you were such a big football fan.
Oh yeah, I played like I mean, back then we played like the old FIFA and Winning 11, but mostly Sega Soccer Slam, Mario Strikers. Those are big ones. And I tried Rocket League, but you can't unsee the car. It's there. So
my problem with Rocket League is that I was driving.
I liked Rematch. Technically this fell into what I played when we were off air then technically for that week, but I liked Rematch because it's a very different kind of soccer game to where it is actually third person looking. So it's just like almost over the shoulder of your character. And you can do like 4v4 or 5v5, and every person on the field is populated by a player. So you can have 10 people in one room playing. It's pretty cool. Or you can match make. So you can have 5 people and you can have an entire team that match makes against people online. So pretty cool stuff. Because Mario Strikers, the most recent one, disappointed me because you only have 2 people in a room to match make despite having 4 people on a team.
What an interesting pivot for that studio.
I know, right? And you can kind of see some Sifu vibes in there with the art style and some of the characters, but it's well done. It's well done. I got to give them credit. It's pretty cool. So
I had no idea you were even interested in playing the game like that.
it's fun. You can hop on, Ryan.
Well, I won't, but I appreciate the invite.
Okay.
Project Century is now called Stranger Than Heaven.
Game looks cool.
It
looks cool.
Looks beautiful. I love what they're doing with that.
Looks vicious. Some of the stuff that's going on in that game. Some of the like the fighting and the
vicious
impact.
Yeah.
I like that. There's that scene where he like tackles the person into the crowd, and I'll say some of the people around him. It looked really interesting, like how there's interacting with some of the just the extras and the NPCs. It just looked really fluid.
And did they put a date on this? No, they just gave it a name. Yes, that's still coming. Lego Party, that was weird. That was really weird. An announcement. I don't know. Is there anything else that stands out here from SGF? Dune Awakening, that just came out. Onimusha, Way of the Sword. It's going to be playable at Gamescom.
I've seen that a couple times now. MindsEye was shown. It's out June 10th.
Sonic Racing Crossworlds.
That was weird because they had different Sega characters in there. They had Ichiban in there.
Yeah. And Joker. Because, I mean, obviously you have to have Joker, another Persona 5 character, show up in another game for the 15,000th time, or just more Persona 5 in general. Persona is probably a good segue. We could probably talk about the Xbox Game Showcase now, if only because this was their first showcase where they've, again, openly admitted that they'll just start showing logos for rival, well, what were previously seen as rival, but now just other platforms. And indeed, I think, God, the list is shorter for like what's not on PlayStation 5, if anything. I mean, pretty much most of this is indeed coming to PlayStation 5, which it's cool to have that transparency, right? Now that they're full blown, like we're just going to be shipping our games wherever we can, whatever makes sense for us. They'll still spend a vast majority of time sort of propping up their own hardware and services, but like pretty much all these trailers, when they were announcing these games, they were probably coming to PS5.
Yep.
So a lot of stuff, which is starting off with, I guess, what might be semi-controversial after learning the price, but Outer Worlds 2. October 29th, coming out this year. $80 MSRP. That is the second $80 game.
Here we go.
How do we feel about that, John?
I mean, it's going to happen. Microsoft told us that they're going to move to $80 games, and I think most of us looked at it and said, well, yeah, obviously Call of Duty.
Yeah, Call of Duty, not
Outer Worlds.
Yeah, like this, I don't know. I don't know if it's like a bad thing to say, but this felt like a $50-$60 game to me.
To be fair, that's how Obsidian portrays themselves, and they mention this in interviews. Like, we want to make more games rather than like one game every 6 or 7 years or something. So we'll pare back on some of the stuff to make, I don't want to say lesser than, or like, just AA games, but we're not going to make sure that every piece of paper on the table interacts with you when you hit it or something, stuff like that. It's like, we kind of understand where we can round off the corners, if you will, to make it happen. But then they go, okay, now this is $80. Like, whoa, okay, hold on a minute. So to be fair, the game hasn't come out yet. So it's hard to be like, well, this game isn't some massive, incredible experience. We have to see. That $80 price, though, whenever it gets put on a game now, the expectation is immediately like, okay, this better be a really good game.
Yeah, I would not have. I mean, it's Microsoft that put the $80 price on it. I don't know if Obsidian really was happy about this.
No, I mean, it's the publisher decides, and they might even be like, hey, you know what? If you don't like it, get Game Pass. Get an Xbox, get Game Pass, or get on PC, get Game Pass.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is that because this is kind of another secondary story here, but like all these games are, the Microsoft published games that they've announced recently, they do have their physicals up for pre-order. And it's like, yeah, a la carte, $80, physical, PS5. It's all well and good, but like, does this clearly not sort of prop up the idea of like, well, you could spend $80 on PlayStation 5 or just subscribe to Game Pass and
right
get it there. It's very much that have your cake and eat it too sort of proposition. Like, yeah, you'll get our games, but gosh, $80 for Outer Worlds 2. I don't know.
That's tough. I think a lot of people are gonna really look at that price tag and be like,
It's just that sort of like that notion of like, okay, if we consider that a Mario Kart World is this incredible experience, my God, Nintendo actually did it. They sort of gave us a sort of full, I don't want to say next gen leap, but so many different characters and the world is big and there's all these different events you can take part in and 24 player matches. And there's so much conversation around like, man, $80 does suck for the game, obviously. But damn, is this like a really good, like fresh experience? And arguably that might be the same conversation around a Grand Theft Auto 6, which is a sort of generation defining game that we've waited 10 plus years for. It's like $80 is kind of getting associated with those type of experiences. And you just do not think of that at all for Outer Worlds 2, which I feel kind of bad for Obsidian in that case. Cause I can't imagine they would have wanted their game to be the first $80 XGS game that gets confirmed.
yeah, that is the other thing. It's now the spotlight's on them for Microsoft. It would have been better off, honestly, if they followed Call of Duty, because they could at least be like, well, we weren't the first one, but that's how it goes. I mean, here, look, going into next year, like Forza will be 80. Fable might be 80. It's gonna start hitting, I think, pretty quickly for Microsoft. And I will tell you this: Game Pass is going to go up in price as well, just because seeing the games go up in price, which just increases the perceived value of the service. It's going to probably end up being $25 a month for that now.
Oof. I really didn't think it'd be this game. Because that's the language they put out too, is that this holiday season's select games or something are going to start
Yep.
being priced at $80, or it would be going up. They're not going to say exactly, but I think we all kind of expect that, okay, that's Call of Duty. So got Outer Worlds 2. High on Life 2 is this winter. So if you like that, you're pretty much getting more of that. I still got to start the first game. Very funny, very goofy looking. They did announce, I mean, this is more of the hardware side, but that ROG Xbox Ally and Ally X, which unsurprisingly, you can indeed boot up PlayStation Studio games on that. Not sure if that's really shocking to anybody, but you certainly can do that.
That's become a point of contention now, Ryan.
It has. But again, like, is it surprising?
It shouldn't be, but there was a pretty healthy discussion about the idea that Sony might move in to start blocking games if it got out of control, or if it went on a Microsoft platform in the future. Now, there's argument about if this is an Xbox or not. That Xbox is in the name, I understand that. There's an Xbox button on the system. I get that too. Technically it's an Xbox by name. It will really become an Xbox, I think, like completely sealed. It's definitely an Xbox if the next Xbox generation launches and the OS that this handheld is running is the OS that Xbox is running. Then there you go. That's my question. If Sony is looking at this now and they're like, oh, okay, well, that's the OS that's going to run on the Xbox console. I don't really know how they block it on the Xbox console then, if it's just loading through Steam.
No, that's kind of what we got into. I don't remember how many episodes ago that was, but like it was that conversation of what is their roadmap look like for the next Xbox? If it is this truly hybrid platform in a sense where it's basically blurring the lines between home console and Windows, and if this thing, for all intents and purposes on paper, can function like a PC in the sense that it's just loading into Steam, there is no discrimination. How do you discriminate hardware? I still, to this day, as far as I know, my understanding is Sony could not discriminate on where their games are booted. They can't do that now, and I don't think they could do that if that's what eventually ends up happening for any sort of future Xbox hardware, which is very much just sort of a window-based machine, right? That's kind of the point. Right. It could very well like retcon this sort of like conversation that's happening now. To your point of like, there's like this sort of, I don't know, to me, it's like a splitting hairs conversation. Is this thing really an Xbox? Like, I think most people understand it's like a ROG Ally that's sort of skinned per se, especially off the back of that report that they shelved their own sort of internal Xbox.
Right.
And is that not the whole point of the whole the talking point surrounding this? Isn't really an Xbox? Well, if they were going to ship their own uh, hardware that they were going to make in house, I think most people would probably agree that was the actual Xbox handheld. But I digress, because honestly, if they end up doing something that's very similar to this for the next home console, then it sort of retcons the entire conversation. But I don't think there's any. I mean, yeah, it boots PS Studio games. I don't think Sony could stop it.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I think the handheld that we're seeing, the reason they shelved their own internal handheld, as was described, is because they want to make sure they get the software right. So I think what we're looking at right now, they kind of, in a roundabout way, said it. We're kind of looking at their next generation system right now, in that it's not a singular device. It's that OS, it's that platform that's going to go across everything. And that's it. Like that's their next generation move. So Sony is going to be it will be an interesting predicament when it happens, but I think there is going to be that crossroads of, oh, the next Xbox is technically running Windows. It can load Steam, and now God of War is on that system. It's like, huh. Now what? I assume if you're Sony, you just go, well, all right, whatever. They have to buy it from us. But then it opens that idea of, it is the console exclusive like truly dead then?
I don't know. All I know is I don't think I could discriminate against the game launching on what is basically going to be like a Windows semi-customized PC, if that's what the
Right.
next Xbox is.
Because I don't think Valve is gonna be like, oh yeah, we'll just start block. That feels like a Pandora's box you don't want to open if you're Valve, because then maybe other publishers are like, we don't want this here, we don't want it there. Who knows? You know, it could be turned a whole thing.
Yeah, well,
So
they're not beholden to anybody. They're not even a public company. They're private.
yeah,
They
they do
could
kind
very
of do what they want.
yeah, they have a very privileged position of like, this is our storefront and what we say goes, and we're not incredibly motivated to pleasing shareholders or anything, because they don't have any. I don't see what I don't think there's really a path here. So there's the whole ROG Ally thing, which I don't know. I find it's kind of like whatever. But elsewhere throughout the showcase, we had Ninja Gaiden 4 getting a release date. That's looking really good. Super Meat Boy 3D was kind of weird to see.
That's super random. It's like
Yeah.
Super Meat Boy's in 3D now. I'm like, oh, this looks weird.
I kind of love when you have those like weird, like, I don't know, you'd never expect a game like that to go 3D and look the way it looks in that environment. Like, I don't know. Remember like when Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare was announced, and it's like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, it kind of has the same vibe, but in a weird way. Like, people loved Garden Warfare, so maybe Super Meat Boy can make that jump gracefully.
What about High on Life 2? Did you play High on Life 1?
No, I didn't. That's what I would like to play the first one at some point, because it looks like a game I would really enjoy.
It was all right. I mean, it's not like a long game. It has that Rick and Morty humor, but some people didn't like the talking guns as much. I thought it was funny. I don't know. It was
Yeah,
fun.
I'll admit, like, I kind of like that humor. It wouldn't bother me at all. So I got to get around to playing it at some point. I'm just surprised there is a sequel. I didn't think they would be that committed to doing a sequel to that
It
game.
happened pretty quick. I feel like it happened fast. It's like that took a couple of years.
Yeah, it does. It seems like a pretty quick turnaround for that if it's coming out this winter. Indiana Jones DLC. Nice to see that. September 4th. Beast of Reincarnation. A lot of talk surrounding this too.
Oh yes, Ryan. I'm sure you got some emotions for this one.
Not really. I don't know.
Really?
Well, because the problem is, right, it's just I find that, especially with Pokemon fans, it's just so much bad faith arguments. Now, that I don't want to come out as like a staunch defender of Game Freak and the Pokemon games, and how they look as far as their performance and sort of visual quality. But I think it's an incredibly bad faith argument to prop up this game and then Pokemon games and try and make some sort of comparable. I mean, Jesus Christ, clearly it's like you can't really do that. Context is everything. So Beast of Reincarnation looks kind of nutty and ridiculous, but it's also on like modern hardware. with a different publishing partner, like, big surprise, it's going to look insanely different from Pokemon. Am I wrong?
Still,
Am I?
you're showing
Am
this to
I?
people who have lived with Pokemon in some of the states that it releases in, and they see this and they're like, Hold on a minute, what is this?" Like, they're questioning what's real the other day, Ryan. They don't know which way's up. It was a wild time online. So it's bit of a slap of reality, I think, there, because there's always been that thought of, you know what, maybe Game Freak just can't do it. 3D development is what is that, right? So that's kind of what it's been like. But now you see this and you go, whoa,
Well, you know what?
they actually can make like nice looking games.
For sure. I think they could. I think they always could have. It's always like to me. I think it says a lot about the publishing partner. That's what I think. I mean, when you look at something like maybe Ready at Dawn's a good comparable here. Daxter and God of War on PSP, and those look well as far as a Game Freak comparable. Like Daxter and God of War on PSP are really impressive, and they pulled a lot out of PSP hardware. But I think most people then at the time saw the Order 1886 and went, "Holy but Jesus! Look at the stuff they were able to accomplish on PlayStation 4 as far as visual fidelity." There's a lot to be said about the gameplay department for the Order, but I feel like that's kind of a similar jump. And that if they're going to be working on high performance boxes, let's say they've got a lot of headroom to work on this. Yeah, I think Game Freak is a very accomplished studio that can put out something like Beast of Reincarnation. Perhaps this says a lot more about their deadlines for Pokemon and how much resources they can really allocate to that game every time they put it out.
Have you played Scarlet or Violet on your Switch 2 yet?
What's funny? It was the first thing I booted.
Did you?
I had to. I had to see it.
It's crazy, right? Isn't it crazy now?
It was a very expensive patch. It was a very, very expensive $483 patch, but it was indeed the first thing I booted up. It's clean.
It runs
looking.
well now, right?
It's clean looking. But like
Yep.
I think it says a lot about perhaps what they were given with Nintendo.
Well, we'll see with their next generation Pokemon. Now, I'm going to tell you this: seeing Beast of Reincarnation, people are going to immediately go, "Okay, well, what's this 10th gen? What's this next generation Pokemon going to look like now?" They're going to hold it up next to this game.
Well, again, just to clarify, I'm not trying to defend Game Freak per se. I think I think it's really important to understand the very clear differences between the situations. I would also love for Pokemon games to look a lot better than they look, or run a lot better than they look. I find it was definitely inexcusable how Scarlet and Violet ran on base Switch. Yeah,
sure.
It was rough.
But that's the thing. I don't think Pokemon should look like Beast of Reincarnation, because that'd be somewhat terrifying, wouldn't it?
Well, obviously. No, but like, I think I don't know. I found it was always fair when like people would like look at Xenoblade Chronicles and then Pokemon.
Yep.
Like, well, yeah, why can't we get that? And look, I mean, I don't know what goes into the underlying systems of these games as far as like, their world streaming and worrying about player sight lines and how many things are spawning in the overworld. That was kind of a big thing with Scarlet and Violet, is that you've got a lot of things spawning in the overworld. There's no more wild battles per se. Pokemon just appear in fairly large groups. I don't know. I don't know what their systems look like underneath the hood. Maybe they could have every circumstance is different. That's all I'll say.
I get it. Hey, we'll see. We'll see what the next one looks like after ZA next year, I guess, for the next generation.
So Beast of Reincarnation. Very interesting game to see from Game Freak. Clockwork Revolution. John, this one was not confirmed for PS5, correct? In Exile? Right. I believe, yeah. This was like one of a few games, one or two games that were not coming to PS5. This is from In Exile Entertainment, excuse me. I would think, because In Exile is not a huge team, I would think that they'll probably have a PS5 version just maybe further down the road, because they're kind of like in the middle of just getting this thing out the door, perhaps.
The game looks really good too. I could see it selling well if it reviews well, which, I mean, based on what we've seen so far, I figure it would. I think it looks great. So I feel like you're right. they would eventually move to PS5, like we've seen with some of these. Like Microsoft is going to hold a few games as that timed platform exclusive, whatever the lingo is we use now for it. And I think this is one of them.
So you think it was on purpose that it's being held behind?
A little, well, I think they're going, hey, even if you say smaller team, hey, just go ahead and get it done for Xbox and PC, and we'll come back to it for PS5. Don't stress yourself and try to do multiple platforms in one. Let's just get this game out. Let's get it done. So not that it wasn't, oh, we're going to absolutely hold this back on purpose. It's more like, let's not spread you guys thin. Let's stay on track. Let's get it done here, and then we'll go to PS5.
Right, prioritizing their home console still.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm surprised by this Grounded 2. Grounded 2. Did this need a sequel?
Yeah, that's interesting. I assume they wanted to move to somewhat of a new platform in terms of, so the live service games you keep building and stacking on top of your like beta version 0.8 or something. And eventually I feel like you probably hit a ceiling or a limit, since if you think about it, Grounded 1 released for the Xbox One back in the day.
Yeah.
So eventually you go, okay, the floor has risen here. Because no one's really using an Xbox One VCR anymore or anything like that. Let's now take advantage of this newer hardware that we're sitting at, even if it's baseline Xbox Series S. Well, there's no mechanical hard drive there. So we can say, okay, we're just working with SSDs across the board at this point. Something like that, So that's I think what you run into with some of these live service games is eventually you're going to cut stuff off, some of these systems off. So if that's the case, you may as well just make another game, especially in this case with Grounded, which kind of started out as like a fun little project within Obsidian, and then it grew and grew and grew. Okay, what can we do now with more people, more investment, and start from scratch with that investment?
That's fair. That is fair. Yeah, thank you. You're right on the money with that. And July 29th, too, for Grounded 2. So that is,
yeah, I think it's early access, so they're doing the same thing again, where they're going to, they're just going to build with the community.
Yeah, that's the right way to do it. That is the right way to do it. I'm just so surprised. That's soon. That is really soon.
Yeah. It's like, let's get moving on this. I'll give Microsoft credit. I know they're doing PS5 releases as well. They have a pretty good cadence. They're kind of rolling. It's like, oh, here's some PS5 games, here's some Xbox games, PC. And probably whenever there's a Nintendo Direct, you'll probably see Microsoft. Phil Spencer might be in the Direct for all we know. So,
well, that's the other like semi-notable thing. Not even PlayStation per se, because it's like, I think everybody sort of watched this, this and Summer Game Fest. It was like, wow, not a lot of Switch 2 stuff going on, but it's like, well, they might hold all those Switch 2 versions for Direct if they
like to make it a big deal. It's like, hey, look, this version for the Switch. It's like we announce stuff. It's like, okay, Nintendo, relax over there. Okay, we get it.
It is such a Nintendo thing. It's like, you can't say shit about their games until it's on their terms.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. Chronos: The New Dawn. That's coming fall. And what else we got? Elder Scrolls Online Season of the Worm Cult. I just love saying that.
Did you watch Soul Leveling yet?
No.
Oh, you would think that announcement's really funny then, because the anime, the show Soul Leveling, is pretty much taking a lot of tropes from video games or like high fantasy, I guess you could say dice or board games even. But it to me, when I watched it, I thought of RPGs immediately, because the character gains this ability that's mysterious to where he can level up, but no one else around him can. So he just keeps getting more and more powerful. And it does like the video game tropes of you have daily quests and occasionally you have random quests that pops up. You get to like that fork in the road where you pick your class. Like you get different weapons that you can buy. Like all these things are happening, but only he can kind of see it. And so now they're taking this anime or whatever, and that's based on video game tropes, and now turning it into a video game on itself. So it's a very strange thing to see happen. What they showed, I'm like, yeah, it looks like one of those like mid anime video game adaptations. I'm not expecting a lot from it. I mean, I see it and I go, oh, okay, some kind of like arena fighter action game or something.
See, so many people recommend I sit down and watch that show. I really got to sit down and spend some time.
It's like 24 episodes. It doesn't take long, and it's good. It's very good.
Because I keep hearing it's great, but
It's all
I
on
just
Crunchyroll.
I just never sit down and actually spend time watching like hardly any anime. There's
I
I
put it
like
like if you're grinding out stuff in Rebirth, I would just put it on another monitor or something.
I like the music in Rebirth a lot. So even when I'm doing monotonous things, I just like having the headphones in and just listening to the
Mhm.
world. Yeah. I haven't really had a podcast game in a while, or any sort of monotonous kind of task in a game. Because that's what I'll do that. I'll just have something on in the background, but I haven't
Sure.
really found myself in a position of playing something that warrants that.
Hmm.
Maybe in the Death Stranding 2 post game, because I did run through a lot of podcasts when I was going for the DS1 Platinum.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Solo Leveling though, put it on the to-do list. It's very good.
I really have to because it keeps getting recommended and I can't get away from it. Got a new Don't Nod game, a Felion. I like Don't Nod a lot, so I gotta keep up with a lot of their new
Oh,
stuff coming out.
you are a don't nod person. That's right.
I am. I don't. I don't. John, I never nod. You kidding me?
Hey.
I love their games. It's cool that they got something coming in 2026. Sci-fi narrative horror mystery. That's right up my alley.
Hmm.
Mm, Not so much the sci-fi portion, but I love narrative horror. What else we got here? Age of Mythology. These games I'm not. I have a buddy that loves the Age of Mythology games, so he's probably pretty excited for that. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 plus 4 demo out
Persona 4
now.
Revival, man. What are you doing?
We're getting there. We're getting there, John. What about Gears of War Reloaded? Reloaded.
There's a beta this weekend for it.
I know, and that'll be the first time where PlayStation players can play Gears of War.
See that blasphemy in person.
That the physical is confirmed too, so it will have a physical. $40 USD. There you go. Which means, John, I'll have it. I was telling you before, if they do a physical print, I will commit sin and have Gears of War on.
Putting that disgusting thing on the shelf. The
It,
PlayStation logo on front of Gears of War.
it just doesn't feel right. It
It
really
feels
doesn't.
weird. It still does.
I've actually got a sealed copy of Gears of War for 360.
Wow.
Yeah, it's cool, and it's just such a 360 game to me. But man,
It is.
it's gonna be so weird playing that on PlayStation. Oh man. Okay, let's talk about Persona 4 Revival. They didn't show a lot. They really didn't.
No. I
Yeah.
saw this. I was like, oh, Ryan's probably like losing his mind.
I guess. I don't know. Like, so for me, like I was pretty upset when well, it was funny that like all the voice talent was like, yo, we're not in this. And
Right.
that's how we heard about it. That really bothers me though. I'm somebody where like I can suspend that preference to play something new, but generally speaking, I really dislike when there's remakes, remasters, maybe sequels, and voice talent is swapped out. It's one of the few things that to me it really sort of breaks the experience. So it felt bittersweet seeing this reveal, just knowing that like all the voices I'm so accustomed to are not going to be there. That is kind of my issue.
Mm.
But the footage they showed, yeah, like you just have you running through like down the street for like a brief portion is all they showed, and there's like no NPCs or anything. I think they just wanted to get this announcement out there, and it's probably pretty far away still.
Yeah, it feels weird that it's still far away because I feel like this is something we've heard about for a little while now.
Yeah, the rumors were definitely ramping up for sure, but I think that's just a consequence of like they were going to be showing this thing off. Also, the revival name seems weird to me. I mean, I guess that makes sense as in like a TV revival, but I feel like Rewind maybe would have made a lot more sense.
You noticing that we have Persona 4 Revival, Resident Evil Requiem. You think Square's a little concerned right now because the third entry for Final Fantasy VII,
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that.
like what are they going to use for that now? Maybe it was one of these. Maybe it was either Revival or Requiem.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they. Yeah, there was like a good running theory about what they were going to call it, but I forgot what the word is. I don't know if it was Requiem or not. But it seems like
That's
there's a
tough.
lot of subtitled R games coming out and now. Square's like,
Yeah,
come on, guys, really?
yeah,
We
they're kind of running out.
We've been working on this since 2015, basically, and you're stealing this
I
from
think
us.
I think the running theory is that it's Final Fantasy VII Reunion,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, why wouldn't it be a reunion?
and that would make sense. So that means that somebody has to ruin that now. So Sony's company. But I feel like Reunion makes the most sense. It's just people are noticing. I was like, wow, it kind of is getting narrowed down to that now.
Yeah, it should be reunion. The hell am I thinking? It's reunion.
I was just looking at the Square announcements that were coming up. That's what it just like in my mind. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. To the Final Fantasy 7, the third entry situation. But did you see that? You saw the Intergrade N16.
Yeah, it finally happened. Finally happened. PlayStation exclusives, they gone.
Yep.
Although
Yep.
Integrate already came.
Well, they announced it for Switch 2. I assume it's launching alongside of this. We
Oh,
don't have
right,
a release
right,
date
right.
for that yet even.
Mhm.
Whereas Integrate is just winter, which again, wide open window there. It could be this year, it could even technically be next year. So
Right, winter for Integrate, but 16 came out at the time. It was a shadow drop.
Shadow Drop.
Yep, love 16. And then they ended while there's Keeper from Double
Yeah,
Fine.
that's Double Fine's game. It looks
That's
like
the
you play it as a
other
lighthouse. You run as a lighthouse with a bird. It's weird.
Yeah, that's the other game that was not confirmed for PS5. So I think that too will either be a little bit behind or come at some point down the road. But it's cool to see Double Fine's new project too, because
They always
they
have
were
weird
quiet.
games, don't they?
Well, that's what I love about them. But they were quiet for a long time. They were just toiling away at this bad boy, and good to have a nice formal reveal. And then after that, they ended with Call of Duty Black Ops 7. That's their one last thing.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? I mean, it was so anticlimactic because they tried so hard to play it off like it was. If you watch the trailer, they tried so hard to pretend like it wasn't Call of Duty, and then it just flips around and it's like, oh, it's Black Ops 7. It's like, oh, okay, because we just had Black Ops 6. It's like just Black Ops 7. There you go. It's like, well, whatever. I mean, it works for them. I get it. It prints money, but it's like, man, that's your closeout. I don't know. Call of Duty.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, the surprising thing to me is that it was Black Ops. I don't follow Call of Duty news that closely
That
at
was the
all.
rumor. The
Oh, was
rumors
it?
in Black Ops 7, yeah.
Okay, so I don't even know if it was like everyone knew they were just gonna go into another Black Ops, but to me, I was like, "I don't they usually kinda just then go to a Modern Warfare or something?" And
They usually jump around, but apparently the Black Ops name is the most popular one they have. So they're my thing is, okay, guys, you're gonna run this thing into the ground. Just outright. I mean,
uh,
it's literally called Black Ops 7. Like eventually you're gonna start using Roman numerals for this thing, you get past 10. So I I guess. I sure. It's just not exciting. It's like, yeah, obviously it's going to be Call of Duty because when you get to the end of that show, you go, oh, wait, they haven't announced their most lucrative franchise with a new entry that comes out every single year. I wonder what the last game is at the showcase. It's like, yeah, it's Call of Duty. I will say, though, Call of Duty aside, Phil Spencer had a speech before this, Ryan. Talks about next year, which is the 25th anniversary for Xbox, right? 2001 to 2026, like cool. He starts naming games that are coming out next year, which I mean for PlayStation, it's like, okay, cool. All right, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. And he names a new Forza that's coming out next year. Gears of War or Gears E-Day that's coming out next year. Names Fable. And then he said there's going to be a game a returning game is going to come out next year, and it's been with us since the beginning. And that's where he left it. So,
gosh, so he's gotta be talking about Blinks.
yes, it blinks. Yes, or Fusion Frenzy. Yes. So basically next year, yes, you're going to see some kind of Halo. I think it's Halo Combat Evolved remake in Unreal. And as the rumors have said, it'll probably be on PlayStation. So,
Yeah, I think you pretty much already closed it out. It's that, is it not?
mm. But there is word that there's another Halo game that's coming to PlayStation because it's been found in the back end, apparently in the API by a data miner, and it's coming out soon.
Yeah, like what could that be?
So it's going to sound really funny, I think it's Halo Infinite.
No way. Is it really?
I think it's going to be, because that game is still. So the weirdest thing has been happening with Halo Infinite. They keep updating the game. All right. And in my mind, I'm thinking, haven't they kind of moved on from that? There's a full shop where you can buy stuff. Like they keep adding like kind of like these seasons, these challenges, these battle pass kind of things. They keep doing it. And you can change between any of the older battle passes. Like you're not locked in. They don't go away and expire. You can just change them on the fly. So the platform is already built out. It's there. They can monetize it further. It's free to play. I kind of think what's going to happen here, and the reason it hasn't been announced yet, despite a state of play, despite a Summer Game Fest, despite Microsoft show, is because it's in the Nintendo Direct. It's going to be Halo Infinite. It's going to launch for Nintendo Switch 2. It's going to launch for the PlayStation 5, and it's going to be available that day.
So I thought the data miner said it wasn't infinite, but I guess I'm wrong about that.
I'm kind of thinking it's Infinite, because I don't know why it would be. I don't think it's Master Chief Collection.
No, I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I think the whole Master Chief. I don't think that's happening.
No,
I think you just do them all over again. 1, 2,
it
3.
took a long time moving it to PC. It had to be like piecemealed. It took forever. So I don't know why you start that now if next year is Halo Combat Evolved remake or an Unreal. Halo Infinite is just weird. Sounds weird. Seems like the most likely candidate if I had to go through and pick one.
What's the how healthy is Infinite looking nowadays as far as like the player base and the expectation of like updates and new content? Like, is it just kind of like in like autopilot mode, or is it
Kind of in autopilot mode? They've done a lot in terms of, I don't say, I guess fixing it, but adding content. So you go in it now, it's very robust. You have a full forge system where you can build all the levels you want. It's community shared. They have it so it's set up between like PC and Xbox and everything there. So it is a very complete multiplayer free to play experience. And as I mentioned, all the previous battle pass things they've sold, they're all accessible. So it's not the situation of you got to log in now and you have 3 weeks to unlock everything. They have no expiration. You can switch between them literally every other match. You can go, I want to do this one, and now I want to do this one. You press a button or two and boom, you're on to the next one. So to me, it feels like everything's in place for them to then just say, okay, it's on PlayStation now. Let's go ahead and welcome the tens of hundred thousands. So I think a lot of people from PlayStation would just download and install it just to see it in action. I think there'd be a lot of interest. And then obviously with the Switch 2, how there's been massive pickup at launch and people are just looking for something to play on it. It's like, there you go. So it seems like the pieces are in place, but it would still be a weird announcement, wouldn't it?
I'd be kind of shocked, but not shocked. Not shocked in that, like, we're all expecting it will eventually happen. That's the one big IP that's left, basically. Once Halo happens, like, that's the whole big headline. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Sega, they're third party, blah, blah, blah. Not like that would be fine to me. I was starting to have more conviction and like, oh, they're just going to wait for like the first Halo. It's going to be
that makes sense.
Yeah, this UE5 Combat Evolved remake, which that alone is also fine, but like if anything, then I start to wonder like, when are you going to do 2, 3, ODST? Like, what are those games? Are those just like the Master Chief ports, basically, or the Master Chief Collection ports? But you remade the first one.
Yeah,
is also kind of weird to me, I guess.
It's strange. It seems like there's something Halo related waiting in the wings right now, and everyone's just trying to guess at what it is. So total guess, but I mean, Halo Infinite's free to play. It's very accessible then in that way, and it has things you can buy right then and there available.
Man, I really thought the read was maybe just like Infinite will sort of put that behind us, do the Combat Evolved remake, and then the next mainline Halo would maybe be the one that's like day and date everything. But hey, maybe we do have Infinite coming. That'd be insane. That would be shocking.
Yeah, that would be. So just kind of my thought on that. It would make sense for their trajectory, but hey, maybe they want to, for some reason, repackage Halo 2 remake and move that. I don't know. It's a strange time for Microsoft right now with Halo.
Very strange. You think they printed on disc?
I don't know, because Halo, if I remember right, Halo Infinite was one of those things where they didn't put everything on the disc anyway.
They put like nothing on it, didn't they?
And from what I remember, it was not much of anything. So I would like to think they would, because there's still a campaign that is fun. I think it's fun. It has full co-op now too, so you can do co-op online with people, play through it, and it's pretty cool. If you're gonna go that route, then yeah, put it on the disc and ship it, sure. But if it's free to play and they just do the Halo Infinite multiplayer, it's like, what's the point? Just release it digitally and call it a day.
Because that's the other nutty thing too, right? Is that they don't have any disc releases for Xbox, only PlayStation.
Yeah, I'm a little confused on that one too, because it's kind of like, are they
Well,
just done with physical disc now?
well, hold on. Is that confusing though? Because like the point I'll make is like, okay, you want to sell on PlayStation, good. We like discs over here. Like it would be great to like know your audience. Granted, yes, the ratio still heavily favors digital, even on PlayStation. In some circumstances, depends on a lot of PS Studio games can lean very physical, but still, like you're going to move a lot more discs here versus on Xbox hardware. So call me crazy, but like I'm not exactly shocked. Although I want Xbox to have discs too, but it just seems like they're maybe not willing to do that. The Outer Worlds 2, by the way, you saw like a little disclaimer on that box art. They're already saying on this box art for this game coming out towards the end of the year, internet required. God damn it. Are you kidding me? You've got plenty of time. Just make sure there's a gold master on it. You're telling me right here and now, months away, you're already committing to the idea of like, well, it's not going to be the full game. You're going to put the whole game on the disc. What are you crazy?
Microsoft, they're ready to go. I just think in general, a lot of these publishers are ready to go digital. They're ready now. It's like, man, these people just won't give up these Blu-rays. How do we get them out of here? Like that kind of thought process.
God damn it. Just print the full game.
You're like hanging on with like a couple fingers and they're like stomping on your fingers trying to get you to fall.
Oh, God, iron tipped fingers, baby.
I know.
Not letting go. John, that was like most of the like super big stuff. I mean, what's interesting about this not E3 season, I've seen a lot of varying opinions on like their sort of ranking here. Almost always every year there's like one that's like easily like, oh, that was the show. Right. I have seen various different like rankings here. It seems like they're all kind of on semi-equal footing.
Yeah, if I had to rank these, I would go,
because that was not a bad state of play. It really wasn't.
Some people thought it was. I was like, man, I must be confused or lost. I thought that was all right. I didn't think it was bad. I would probably have Xbox Showcase State of Play, then Summer Game Fest in that order.
So SGF bottom.
Yes, SGF bottom.
Wow. Yeah.
Which is a shame because it had RE9, right? And it's like, man, it's just that RE9 really helped that show out. That final showing of it. It really did. Otherwise, I would have been like disastrous almost.
I think I am going with your list. I think that's where I am too. But I've seen plenty of people like rank it completely differently. Like State of Play was bottom.
Really? That's so interesting to me. That I don't know. State of Play is bad. Like, geez.
No, I wouldn't say it's bad. I mean, this is the thing I say about State of Plays. It's like, I don't know, when it's better than the 2023 showcase. Like, I don't know. Maybe we tend to split hairs on like the naming convention of these shows. There is that expectation of it. Like if it's called a showcase, oh, this is the big one with a lot of big PlayStation Studio announcements, which this one was lacking updates from a lot of studios that we're still expecting. I get it. I totally get it. But it stands on its own as like a very good state of play.
The last game Sony was involved with.
Yeah.
Marvel.
Well, I get, but like updates for like, where's Marvel's Wolverine, for example.
Oh, but that's kind of a Marvel thing, right? Like this is, Sony XDev and Arc System Works working together for that final game that like had the fighting game community going in like a frenzy. That's a Sony game technically.
Well, and that's why I would argue that the state of play was actually quite strong. Yeah.
Like, we do need to find out what's going on. Somebody's got to get like those posters out on like telephone poles looking for Wolverine, because this is getting a little long in the tooth for how long it's been to get an update on this thing. I will say that. Like,
maybe TGAs.
Okay.
We still have the TGAs. And just other state of plays that they might hold. It's not like this is the last state of play that we're gonna see. Gotta have some Saros gameplay. Maybe another update for Intergalactic. Or perhaps a God of War Metroidvania.
Yeah, that wasn't there either. I was a little surprised that it wasn't at the show because people seem to be hearing about it and it's MIA. So I do think it's a thing though. I believe that is happening. It's just
Yes.
not here
This
apparently.
this was the rumored God of War game that we've been hearing about. And that is what we learned about it, is that apparently it's like this side-scrolling sort of Lost Crown, like Prince of Persia Lost Crown Metroidvania. Initially, we had a relatively new Reset Era user talk about what the game is, and they described it as a cross between God of War and Blasphemous, developed under supervision from Sony Santa Monica, but it is set in Greece before Kratos is a god. And they also said Deimos will be in the game. And then Tom Henderson talked about it from Insider Gaming over on Twitter. He described it as a 2.5D Metroidvania. Giant Bomb's Jeff Grubb said, yeah, in that Twitter thread. And he also elaborated on that further after the state of play, where he talked about it on their channel during one of their live streams. And he said that he's not sure if it's going to launch this year. But I guess part of the internal delay for it was that they wanted to add voice acting to the game. So instead of it just having like standard text boxes, they want to like get a bunch of actual voice lines for it. And so maybe that's what's actually going on, because this kind of falls back to the 20th anniversary for God of War when we were thinking, oh, maybe it's going to show up there. And everyone at the time thought like, we have no idea what the hell this thing is. Maybe it's a collection of games. Maybe it's this God of War, smaller Lost Legacy style game, which apparently it's not that. And if you recall, John, we were talking, like batting around ideas of like, oh, what could this game potentially be? Is it going to be the sort of 2018 behind the shoulder gameplay style, or is it going to go back to the, fixed camera angles of the more hack and slash vibe? Turns out it's maybe neither of those. And this does line up with how it was described before, which was also on Reset Era from Ashong. That's one user that tends to have they're privy to what's going on at Santa Monica. And they were pretty much like months ago saying like, you're not going to guess what this thing is, or it's very different from what you're thinking a God of War game to be. And now hearing this, I'm like, yup, I didn't think it would be this.
Love it. Love the idea.
Yeah, this is like something that I didn't think I wanted. But now that it's being described to me, I'm like, okay, I think I could get on board with that.
Yeah, for me, we go from God of War with like the older title PS2, PS3 and stuff, where it's that action zoomed out isometric look. Go to the God of War 2018 and the Ragnarok. You get that more Sony cinematic behind the shoulder style. I don't know if I need that again. I'm kind of thinking, what else can we do that's different for God of War to change it up a little bit? And this doesn't sound like a project that's some massive big budget title and it took them like 7 years to make. These are the kind of games that I've been asking for to go along with these big titles. And I think this is a really cool way to just kind of change it up a bit for Kratos. And you can even explore, as they say, kind of the prequel early part of the story. And I think maybe introduce some new mechanics to the 2D side. They say kind of like 2.5D. I wonder if that's where they, like the Prince of Persia game that we had recently, 2.5, yeah, where they swivel the camera for special moves and stuff. It's 2D, but it's rendered in 3D, but we see it from the 2D perspective. So you can still do some cool stuff there. So I love this idea. I think it can be really, really interesting.
Yeah. To be honest, my only complaint is that it is a prequel. I don't know. I think we've spent so much time in Greece. Although, caveat here, if we are getting voice acting and we're telling me I get another God of War TC Carson, then I can kind of forgive that. I would be very happy to see TC take the role of Kratos again. But I don't know. I feel like we've only had 2 Norse games. Like, I'm cool with the whole 2.5, but like, let's do a Norse 2.5D Metroidvania. I think that'd be pretty sweet.
They were already talking about changing realms again, mythologies again, weren't they? So it's
for mainline, you would think,
yeah,
right? But if we're gonna do a prequel, or maybe even like something that's in between the events of 2018 and Ragnarok, like I would have liked more Norse. But again, if that means we can get some TC, I think I'd be pretty happy with that. But otherwise, you're right. Like, is this not kind of, I think, what a lot of PlayStation fans were looking for? which is these sort of smaller games that are exploring a different gameplay feel, a different gameplay style. And I don't know. I mean, I also find that when they announce this game, you probably are going to have people coming out of the woodwork complaining that, oh, like, oh, this is not really the God of War game I wanted, especially in the face of people expecting a collection of the first two games, maybe the PSP titles. But I still think you emulate those and put them on premium, and then perhaps we get something very original from a different studio that's handling this.
I don't know. It seems like something that could be really fun to explore and see what happens. And who knows, maybe if it works really well, they could do another 2D Kratos God of War style game and you have a nice little collection of them there.
Did you ever play God of War Betrayal, John?
Oh gosh, this is the cell phone game.
Is that a no?
No, I did not play that. I've seen it. I've seen it in action, like in videos and screenshots and stuff, but I haven't actually played it. No. How bad is it?
I may or may not be doing my first playthrough of that, and I may upload that. It's very interesting. Good old Java game. Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like we're hearing all these rumors right before the State of Play and SGF. So the expectation was like, oh, maybe we'll finally see this game get announced. But if what Jeff is saying, that perhaps this game is seeing an internal delay, and that's maybe what feeds into it, then might be a little bit until we see this thing get announced. Next up, we have the Witcher 4 technical gameplay demonstration. This was running on a base PS5, 60 FPS with ray tracing. This was shown off during the State of Unreal presentation, showing off Unreal Engine 5.6 features. And it's not actual gameplay, so they do make that pretty well known. It says on the bottom, not actual gameplay. It also, I mean, they made a point to say like this isn't like actually The Witcher 4, but it's highly representative of the world and towns and things you'll be doing in The Witcher 4. So it's very much a technical demonstration, as Unreal does love to do, or as Epic loves to do, but it still got a lot of attention because it looked absolutely nutty, very impressive. But it's funny, it also has those portions throughout it where you can see that it's not amazing looking. Like if you zoom in certain sections, and DF kind of went over it, and they're like, yeah, this is kind of actually low res, and you can see how it's scaled up, and it's still very much a controlled environment, as a tech demo often is. But what was, I think, so impressive about it was that it was like, hey, we're confidently demonstrating this on a base PlayStation 5.
It seems to be like a thing that's really being pointed out now. I remember Grand Theft Auto 6 did that as well. Hey, base PS5. That's how we render this whole in-engine cuts gameplay trailer. And now here we are with Witcher. And I think it makes sense considering the PS5 is like the most owned console at this point in terms of the box that you put under your TV. Not like, oh, here's this, the hybrid Switch or anything else. It's no, you buy the high-end box, the console, you put it under your TV in your entertainment center in your living room, and that's what people know it as. So in their mind, they're like, yeah, let's say it's on the PS5 because that's just what people have. So in a way for Sony, like kind of just indirectly just, hey, here's marketing for you.
It really is. Like I think this is the kind of press you want when you get all these examples of like, no, this is actually like the console everybody has. Base PS5.
Yep. Not even PS5 Pro.
Not even a Pro. It is interesting though. It was a pretty cool little demonstration. They showed off like a nanite solution where like sort of an LOD trick where it's not necessarily an LOD. They showed like a tree and it's like all voxel based, but you can't tell that it's like just a bunch of blocks because of sight lines and how far away the tree would be. So definitely a pretty big step up for 5.6 for Unreal Engine. Although real world performance and also what The Witcher 4 will end up being is not exactly this.
Right.
So there was that. Let's get into this rumored PlayStation handheld, though. So the timeline of events here over on their YouTube channel, Moore's Law is Dead. They claimed developers are right now being briefed on a new low energy mode for the console. This would limit PlayStation 5, or rather that particular game. It would lower the console's performance to 8 threads, reduces 3D audio processing to 75%, reduces GPU core clocks by 10 to 20%, cutting GDDR6 memory bandwidth in half, limits the CU count to 36, No PSSR, no VR, that would be turned off. And all of this is meant to reduce the power consumption by about 20 to 30%. And this would still maintain what we're hearing is 90% of the console's capabilities. Now, shortly after that happened, that live stream, Moore's Law put this up on Twitter. Kepler_L2 responded to this on Twitter saying it's 100% an emulated performance profile for the handheld, since the big weakness of the APU is memory bandwidth. We also saw Kepler talking about this on the AMD or on NeoGAF about the AMD product roadmap. And they were just saying that as of right now, the only AMD handheld with AI upscaling anytime soon is the PlayStation handheld. But otherwise, it's still highly speculative. But as we've said before, with these two sources in particular, they've very much gotten this stuff right as far as what developers at the time were being briefed on. So whatever sort of PlayStation documentation is being given. And Kepler's also been quite privy to the AMD roadmap as well. So this, it makes sense to me to sort of have that perhaps foresight of this thing isn't coming out till, let's say, 2028, 29, whatever the case is. But if you want some compatibility with existing PlayStation 5 games, which would clearly be problematic, I think PS4 is certainly achievable. But PS5 stuff in the here and now, how do you you can't necessarily mandate a handheld mode when the damn thing isn't even out. So it does seem like maybe some foresight into trying to make sure some of the games that are being shipped today will be playable on this handheld without a patch.
Yeah, and Kepler just went off with all kinds of other details. The one that was really interesting was the memory bandwidth that they were pointing out being a third of what the PS5 has now. So it plays at like 150 gigabytes per second is what they were alluding to there. And I was thinking about that. I said, okay, well the Switch 2 is now the comparable for handhelds in this realm. I know there's the whole PC gaming handheld. Look, I don't know how to break this to people. Sony's not releasing a handheld that's $800 or $900. I think the roof will be whatever the PS6 costs is what the handheld would cost, like the roof. And they might even try to undershoot that a bit. Just like, hey, it's a handheld. It'd look kind of weird if it costs more than our premium console that we're trying to sell. So but the PS6, let's just say it's $600. Just okay, maybe it goes up a little bit, another $100 from 5 to 600. The handheld's probably 600 or less. In fact, I think it'd make more sense for them to try to get it at 5 or 550, or if they can. If not, it's $599. That's the way it's going to go. So with that in mind, limitations will be in place, yes. And the memory bandwidth at 150 is higher than the Switch 2. And we're seeing what the Switch 2 is doing right now. That's one of the reasons. It's funny. I'm playing the Switch 2 and I'm like, man, in a couple of years, Sony going through it with that handheld, it's going to be pretty cool. It'll be very impressive to see what it looks like. Tech looks like then. And I think it's there for Sony. I think it's all set up for Sony right now to make a really compelling handheld with like the newer technology and the hardware. Since the Vita came out and what that had, we're 14 years later or something. Less than that, right? And it's like, wow, things have changed so much since then to where, yeah, they can make their portable PS5, but battery life, price, even the screen are all things that to me are still up in the air and could make or break this thing. So how would they go with the same size screen that Nintendo did, or would they try to make it more pocketable with like a 6.5 or 7-inch OLED screen even? There's a lot of interesting possibilities, but the Switch 2, you play Cyberpunk on that thing, it is kind of shocking, and it's like, man, these handhelds really have come a long way.
Indeed, they have. It's interesting. I think they actually would be totally fine matching the price of PlayStation 6. That's the running theory, is that this thing is either right next to PS6 or a little bit after PS6. I would think they have no problem pricing it pretty much exactly to PlayStation 6. Like, to your point, I don't think they would put it in that portable PC, like super low volume, $800 area. But I think they have no problem price matching PS6, if only because there's no pressure necessarily for it to do crazy install base numbers. It's just like, well, here you can get the home console or you can get the portable, right? Like, it doesn't need its own dev environment. And that's exactly what this rumor is getting into.
That needs to be the mandate, right? They got to figure that out though before they put. It has to be basically, hey, we figured it out. There's an emulation layer, or whatever there is, and it's gonna play all your games.
Well, see, that's the other thing too. Like if studios are being briefed on this now, and it's like a new performance like flag that they can do when they're making games. Right now, it's just base PS5, PS5 Pro. There would be this third low energy option that presumably you would never be able to use this on a base console. Like you can't choose to use this. It'd be something studios are just sort of baking in right now behind the scenes, and you never have it up until when this thing comes out. So if we're 2025 right now, let's say it's not even mandated right now, but maybe some studios are on board with doing it. So you've got the next 2-3 years of games that are coming out where a lot of those will have it. And then anything under probably doesn't have it unless a studio wants to go out of their way to patch. So you've got a somewhat healthy amount of software that I think PS5 and up would be playable. Maybe, or I still think all the PS4 stuff would be playable. But, when would it be mandated? And then from PlayStation 6, I would think from that point on, that would be a very hard mandate of there has to be this low energy mode. So that's the concern, is that it all sounds great, but the software still has to be playable. You still have to have all this PS5 stuff that you're playing right now. It has to have a setting that will actually be launchable on the handheld.
Has to come under one umbrella. Here's the problem, though, Ryan. You know what I'm going to say? There's no physical media for it.
John, I'm not going to repeat the same thing I've repeated
It's
before.
over. It's over. If this handheld comes out next to the PS6, it's over.
Are you really going to make me repeat myself? They could do it.
It's over.
They could do it. They could do it. You insert the disc on your console. It ties in through PSN. It would require an online handshake, but they could validate one game at a time to be playable on your portable.
Sounds like a lot to carry with them through 2036.
I think they could do it. Will they? I don't know. There's very much a way I think they could do it. Having said that, I am excited. The prospect of it sounds exciting. That's the thing. Like, I'm sitting here playing Switch 2, loving it, but I in the back of my head, I really am thinking like, man, it's going to be kind of nutty if PlayStation does indeed show up with a high performance handheld with local play, mind you, local play. Like, that's the other thing too. I wanted to bring my Switch to my trip right before I left, because I'd mentioned, I only played it for like an hour, then I left. I wanted to bring it with me. I didn't have the reason why I didn't bring it is because it was so new. I didn't have a case for it. So I didn't really want to travel with the Switch 2.
Yeah.
But I brought my Portal. And I'm sitting in my buddy's place because he's got a place in New York, so I'm staying with him. I'm on his home Wi-Fi. And I think I'm just sitting there going, I can't really play Rebirth on this. This is the latency's there. I can feel it. It looks okay, but the latency's there. So I had to sort of reserve myself to more like experiences that aren't so heavily tied to that kinetic gameplay experience.
Right.
And I really was just thinking like, man, I should have brought my Switch 2, or man, this would be really great if this played locally. So
the setup is there.
It's there. It's really cool though. I wouldn't have thought this was like an avenue that they could explore as far as like getting existing software like ready to go.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
That's an interesting idea. Yeah.
It's a neat trick. I didn't think this was something that was really on the table for them, but that's kind of why you have some of these engineers in Sony Japan that are, thinking about these things. So I think it's actually great. This is, like, all things considered, great rumor. You want this to be true, and you want to make sure that by the time it comes out, you don't have that sort of shit show where, let's say this thing gets announced, but there has to be that PlayStation blog post or some sort of FAQ that says, oh, by the way, half this shit don't play.
Yeah, I'd like to think it's going to be, again, we're talking about the Switch 2, but like the experience there for backwards compatibility where like 99% of the games work and work better. I'm not expecting this PlayStation handheld to make these games work better, but if they just work within the confines of like we'll say a 1080p screen, and decent battery life, I think they got something there. I think it'd be really cool. I mean, I'd pick one up. You'd pick one up. I think it'd be hopefully something that's not unwieldy. Like you see the Xbox handheld, and it's like I think it's like a brick with handles on it, you know? So I think Sony would put a little more care into. I don't think they're gonna make another Vita. Like that is still a nice looking system. I don't think they're making that, but I think they'll make something that's nice to look at, and you know, it looks somewhat like high end and upscale.
You think it would be like a semi-similar form factor to the Portal?
I know the DualSense and broken in half with a screen in terms of ergonomics, it's very good. But I also to me personally, I look at the Portal as like the coffee table device. I really don't travel with that thing.
Yeah.
It stays here like a controller. Like to me, it is a controller with a screen that's able to communicate to my PlayStation or the cloud. Whereas I would look at the handheld as just its own system. So I feel like I'd reflect on how it looks a bit more. I'd be a bit more stringent with it, I guess. I'd be like, this thing is ugly if it was like that. Look at this thing.
I'm excited. I'd love to see what they do with this thing.
Yeah.
But I think it really is a question of when does it show up? I would think it's like after PS6.
I don't think it's really tied to the console at all, is it? Like this can just come out whenever they want it to. It's gonna play PS5, and then we assume we'll see maybe PS6 games, probably. Because the cross-gen period is gonna go on for a while. Let's just be real now. This cross-gen period is probably gonna end up being longer than the PS4 cross-gen period because you're still dealing with SSDs across the board. Call of Duty Black Ops 7 is coming out on the PS4 and the Xbox One at the end of 2025. So yeah, that actually might benefit their handheld endeavor to be like, oh yeah, well that PS5 is going to be around until 2040 or something.
I don't know. I think you do a bunch of you release hardware when it's ready, and now you have all these performance flags on all these games. Whatever you own is like the setting you get.
I like it.
I like it too. I'm on board.
Like it.
I am on board. We do have a few other stories here to clean up. Just some little interesting, I guess, older school-esque stories, some cool little anecdotes that popped up. Like, for example, the Order 1886 was planned as a trilogy. So we had that interview from a few months back with Ben Hansen, MinMax. That was with Andrea Pacino, one of the co-founders of Ready at Dawn. We hadn't heard from Rue, the other co-founder, like in years. So recently, over on Julian Chez's YouTube channel, they spoke with Rue Surya, and they spilled some details on their plans for the game and the franchise. Where it turns out he named what they were planning on doing, which was other games in this trilogy. So the Order 1891 was going to be a game, and then 1899, and apparently the sequel did see some development. But obviously it didn't press forward, as we heard from Andrea. And then the third game never saw any development work at all, but they were planning on doing a lot more with it. He also said they planned out the franchise to a point where they were going to start telling some stories in the 20th century. So they definitely had like a universe fleshed out, which was maybe always the most tragic thing about the Order, is that like it ends on a cliffhanger and there's more that they want to do, but they were just not given that opportunity to try a second game.
What a sad tale that Ready at Dawn ended up being at this point. I mean, he ended up getting shut down by Reality Labs and Meta, and that's a shame. I mean, I'm interested to see where because that was a series, really the big thing that stuck out for a lot of people with 1886, the visuals. Like, where would they have taken it with the PS5? Like building up from there. So, and could that world have just continued to build out? Kind of feel like it could have, and it's a shame that it came out, got pummeled by reviews, and that was kind of it.
It's a shame that Sony didn't give him more time. It's the problem.
Yeah.
That's what Andrea basically spilled the beans on. He's like, we were given that one deadline, and that was the one we had to hit. We had so many other things we wanted to do, but we had to get it out. He was very convinced in that if they got their Metacritic scores like in the 70s, they probably would have gotten that green light for the sequel.
You don't think there's ever a chance that anything happens with the Order ever again?
No.
Really? You don't think they reform a studio internal at Sony and they take another shot at it? No, nothing.
No. I mean, shockingly, like if that was a thing, this would maybe be the most plausible time for that to happen, because you have Andrea and Rue that are now like free.
Right.
So, like, because that's the argument I always made was I don't think you want Sony as the IP holder of like, sure, conceivably they can do another one because they own it, so they can just go find a studio and go do it. But is that really what you want? The whole story was set up by these two and this team and their staff and their writers. You want their version of it because that's the story they were like. You don't want somebody else to do it. So if like Sony was super committed and they wanted to like approach these two and hey, we'll fund your new team and you can tell the story you really wanted to tell and we'll give you a second chance, like this is probably the best time for that to happen. Although I don't think that is going to happen.
Well, I say that because the way Sony's moving, it's a lot of, okay, what can we now take from our game library or back catalog? What can we then turn it into things outside of games, other forms of media, movies, series? And this feels like one that could actually work really well there.
I don't know if if they're that committed to doing other forms of media and that is fueled by game projects. I feel like game projects are always front and center. And then if they can do something secondary, then they explore it. You know what I mean? I mean, they do like maybe they accept a pitch for the Order 1886 as far as like a TV show or a movie, and then they feel inclined to maybe not do a sequel, but let's say hire a team to go do a port.
Sure.
Maybe. Although I don't think they have any interest in like doing anything with that game. But you do propose a good segue here, which is a jumping flash VR game almost happened. Speaking with VGC, Shuhei Yoshida revealed that one older PlayStation property that almost came back was Jumping Flash. He said, and I quote here, some developers wanted to license Jumping Flash to develop it into a part of their new VR game. One of the ones that actually happened was the original creator of Fantavision asked for the license and remade it into VR, which did happen. We did get Fantavision on PSVR 2. I feel like a lot of people tend to forget that happened, especially in this sort of new realm of them licensing out IP like a Patapon or a Hot Shots. But technically, we did get that with Fantavision 2020X or whatever it's called. But he did say like Jumping Flash was one of them where they were at some point, like that was proposed. That would have been cool. Although I'll tell you, wouldn't play it.
But no, you're the VR guy here.
Dude, Jumping Flash in VR, I would throw up. Are you kidding me? I can like I still to this day like cannot play what's that one game called? Riggs, Mechanized Combat. That one, that was from Gorilla Cambridge, I think. Riggs is tough to play, man. That game is way too
on hand.
Way too chaotic, way too much fast motion. I mean, VR has gotten a lot better with the sort of sensory things they can do in the game and locking in your field of view and things like that to make these games a bit more playable. But I don't know. I heard this and I thought that's cool. That game would fuck me up. Jumping Flash in VR would mess me up. We also heard about Medieval, an animated movie almost happened. So Ben Meckler, a writer and producer in Los Angeles, recently revealed that one project that got away was an animated movie for Medieval, which apparently would have also had original music by Tenacious D. And he just shared that on Twitter.
just wake up one day. I'm gonna let everyone know. I'm gonna let the world know about that Medieval animated movie.
He quote retweeted something that said like, "What's the one thing that got away?" So he like revealed it with that. Which hey, that would have been cool. Sure. Animated Medieval. Hell yeah. But I would have liked like
special.
Well, yeah, like I was thinking too, like I don't know, doesn't Medieval sound like a Tim Burton style thing?
Yes, it does.
Get like
Nightmare Before Christmas kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, get some like claymation going. That'd be pretty cool, right? That was a cool little factoid we learned. I always love when those pop up. All right, let's get into some really, really funny stories here, John. You know we had to talk about this. The Concord plaque at Goodwill. So this was discovered where a former Firewalk employee decided to donate their launch plaque to Goodwill. Do you have the link for this? Because I don't know what it sold for. I think the auction's well done.
It got pulled down.
No, it did. Last time I checked, it was over $3,000.
Yep, it got pulled down though, and people were thinking that either Sony saw it, the person saw it, but somebody didn't like that it was being sold basically one way or the other.
Oh, what a bummer. That sucks.
Yeah, that was crazy though when that popped up. Commemorative wall plaque, yeah, because it had the person's name on it.
Yeah, Chelsea Grace, I think it was.
Yeah, and everyone was trying to figure out how it ended up there. And I mean, there are a couple theories. The one is, well, they just did this Chelsea Grace person basically was, throwing stuff out that was related to it. And they're like, I'll go ahead and donate this. That's fine. The other thing though is, I mean, it might have just been an office clear out. And they're like, we got this stuff, this box of junk. Let's just go throw it to Goodwill.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe it wasn't the person that they never received it, and it was just hanging around the office.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I don't know like why it got pulled down or what happened there, but yeah, it's they removed it. So
I don't know. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Like it would get pulled down because it was getting up to like $3,000. I don't think anybody was going to actually pay that much
Sony's
for
like
it.
that. No, this can't be the thing that actually makes money for Concord. This can't be the one thing that generates revenue.
Oof. It's just like the continued bad press for the game.
I know.
If
It's
there's
crazy.
any opportunity for it, like it's gonna blow up.
Can't let it die. My gosh.
Because of course it looks a certain way too. You're telling me, oh, like people thought like, oh, of course they didn't want it. That's why they donated it.
That
Oh,
is kind of sad to think about it that way. I still it doesn't even seem like something you would want to donate. I feel like it's something you keep anyway. So I'm thinking this Chelsea Grace person just didn't get it. Like they didn't pick it up or didn't maybe they didn't even get really distributed like that. Maybe there are some that they didn't mail out in time or the person had moved on before it went gold and launched and they were just like, well, we'll get it to them someday and they just never did. They just donated it.
I think that's very plausible, considering it was like a 2-week window.
Yeah.
I don't know when it like what the expectation is for like when those plaques actually get to them, but
I mean, it had to have been chaos at that studio either way at that
that
time. So
yeah, I'm curious as to like I don't know how that team, like people that worked on that game, how they feel, you know? Like it's
hmm,
almost like like do you put that on your resume? You might have to.
good
That's
question.
how long you worked on the game, you know?
You kind of
Mm,
have to, otherwise there'd just be a gap, and that's harder to explain than I was on Concord, So
that's a shame. That's a shame. That's a shame. I don't like dogpiling on it. I still think it was tragic. The other thing I got for you, John, is Mark Cerny's latest platinum. He has joined the 0.1% of players that have achieved Balatro's platinum after 7 months and hundreds of hours. Occasionally, he does like show people that he's alive, and he'll like make one tweet, and it's always like a platinum trophy that he got. And he recently did Balatro. Mark's a gamer,
that's pretty impressive, actually. That does take a long time to get that.
and you're over here giving me shit left and right for platinum trophies, and the architect behind PlayStation 4, 5, Vita, PS4 Pro, PS. Look, he's out there gaming, John. What do you have to show for it? Huh?
About to be the MindsEye platinum. I'll have to check his profile, see if he has that.
Now he's playing good games.
Mm.
It's always cool seeing what Mark's playing. I didn't know it took that long though. Hundreds of hours. My God.
I think it's because Balatro's a very randomized game, so it's
Yeah.
it literally luck of the draw, So there, you kind of just run at a wall over and over again. Eventually, it works out for that platinum trophy. So
And he had the patience for it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that is, I will say this: Balatro, as aggravating as it can be, if your run comes to a unfortunate end, it is kind of that game you can just sit down after a day of work, which I assume he has to go through some really annoying stuff at times. Just kind of like veg out and play Balatro. Just be a vegetable on the couch for an hour and play it.
That's how
It
you
is
put
kind of
it.
that. It is kind of. I mean, that's when he can even be playing on the portal when he's gone and away from home for trips and stuff. It's not a game, as you mentioned, that's very kinetic or reaction based or anything. It's gonna hang out, play some cards.
Like you said, veg out though.
Yeah, just be a vegetable on the couch for a bit and play. It's like that podcast game you're mentioning.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Balatro is probably a perfect sort of
Mm.
podcast game. All right, John. I think we caught up on most of the big stuff. It's a very busy week. We got most of it wrapped up here.
Oh, good stuff. Do you have
You forget the name of our own our own segment?
PSX gonna give it to you?
Yeah, of course PSX gonna I always have a PSX gonna give it to you. I'm always dropping PlayStation knowledge over here to the folks.
Mhm.
Because we have the not E3 season, I thought it'd be very appropriate to talk about one of Sony's best E3s they've ever had, which was 2000, in my view, one of the best ones, 2015. This was the PlayStation E3 that just fired on every cylinder. It did have the sort of big three, which really stand out. Every so often you have these conferences that show up and they have a landmark, crazy announcement, insane reveal that gets people so fired up. But
Yeah.
rarely does that happen 3 times in the same show. So with E3 2015, they had The Last Guardian, which was a
Mhm.
long, troubled development where people thought the game was dead. The
Yep.
context there being that it was supposed to be for PlayStation 3, delayed. You'd have Shuhei constantly being asked about this game and interviews throughout the year saying it's still coming, but there was just nothing. It finally got re-revealed with like full gameplay coming to PS4. That was crazy. Then Final Fantasy VII Remake, after years of like just being edged and these sort of false prophets of Square making announcements or technical demonstrations or the movie, and we're never getting a Final Fantasy VII remake, and they're always being asked in interviews. But sure enough, it you've got Adam Boyes on stage. He introduces it, and it's like really happening, and everyone's sitting there in disbelief, going, "Is this it? Is this it? Is this it?" Then it just shows FF7 remake, and everyone lost their shit.
Well, it really
Absolutely insane.
if you watch it back, it's like once Cloud comes into frame with the big Buster Sword, the crowd starts going nuts. But you're right, once that title card hit, it was pandemonium and there was crazy.
Actually, too, extra context. I believe if the way it ran, it was World of Final Fantasy was first. So they announced World of Final Fantasy, which had like a bunch of the chibi,
The chibi ones.
yeah, and everyone's, I like that's just one of those announcements where like you watch it and nobody's saying anything. Then it led into that, which was insane. Then Shenmue 3, which a lot of fans went super. I know it sounds crazy to say that stacked to like FF7 Remake and Last Guardian, but Shenmue is also a game where, on its own, with the Kickstarter being announced, Yu Suzuki making a plea of like, we're ready to finally do this game. And you had the diehard Shenmue fans just also losing their shit. It was absolutely nutty. The thing is, those were the three big standout announcements. But E3 2015, if you look at like the other things, that was also the show where they announced Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yep. Horizon Zero
So
Dawn was there.
which was huge for Guerrilla because that was them walking away from a first person shooter. And there were years like building up to the rumor of that game, which was like a lot of people might remember the rumors of the robot dinosaurs. Like that's what the game was about. They finally revealed that. Dreams from Media Molecule. So you saw Media Molecule's next big thing, which, in hindsight, we saw how Dreams turned out, but it still seemed kind of insane that like, oh man, we're leaving Little Big Planet, and now you can kind of mold and shape whatever the hell you want in this Dreams game. It was super weird looking, but that was also just nutty. And then like the other standout one I wrote out here, well, there's also Uncharted 4, but
Yeah, the
this was
Uncharted 4 demo that they showed at the end. Yeah.
right. They showed Uncharted 4 gameplay near the end. Great show closer. But this was also a landmark show in that they announced Call of Duty exclusivity. So this was
Right.
this was a big thing throughout the PlayStation 3 years, and that, PlayStation kind of felt very much like an afterthought for the Call of Duty franchise, which was really blowing up after 4. So all these map packs and the exclusive content was always going to 360 first. That long-term multi-year agreement with Activision, it went to PlayStation at this point. And so that was also a huge get for the entirety of the PS4 cycle. It kicked off in 2015. So it was just an insane show. 16 was also, or E3 2016, I should clarify, was also a great show as well. I always think like 2015 was like I think it edged out just a bit further. It was just like when you stack everything up, you realize just how much of a landmark show that was for PlayStation 4, how much energy was going into the platform. And you've got Microsoft still picking up the pieces at this point, 2 years onwards from the 2013 X1 reveal. So I think it was just kind of, you got to go back and watch it. I think it's 10 years on,
Yeah,
E3 2015,
that crazy.
10 years later. I
It's
can't believe
it's
it's 10
hard.
years ago.
It's hard to push back when Final Fantasy VII Remake. You have those reveals at E3 where it's like almost you remember where you were when you were seeing the trailer, like the reaction, and a lot of that does have to do with the live reaction with the crowd, which we just don't have anymore. That plays a huge role, I think, in it. But that Final Fantasy VII Remake is up there. It's one of those kind of announcements that people have just, the pent up demand was crazy for it. And we were still kind of in that little bit of that wonder phase with the PS4. Not as much because it had been out for, like 2.5, well, like really 2 years just about then. But basically, it was like, what else can this thing do? Because look, when the PS4 came out, cool, there was that period where it wasn't like massive Sony reveals coming out consistently. A little quieter there. But then you get to like 2015 and you start seeing everything falling into place for the PS4. And they hit you with some of this stuff with Final Fantasy VII Remake. Horizon Zero Dawn is, I know people look at it now and are like, there's that divide of people who like Horizon Zero Dawn and then people who just seem to just really dislike the franchise now. But man, when they showed that, it was like, whoa, this is, the PS4 is, we knew it was more powerful than the Xbox One, but that showcase, I think, really started to hammer that home. Is like, wow, that Sony can get a lot out of this system.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. If I mean, I wholeheartedly think if you either don't remember it, if you didn't see it, or go back and watch it. E3 2015 was insane. That, and also it's very fun to look up E3 2015 reactions. You've got like YouTube uploads where people would piece together like the FF7 remake reactions, and it's so fun to like see people like lose their mind over something they were waiting so long for. And you
It's
get
a big
those,
deal.
you really do get those goosebumps when like you see the slow pan out of the Buster Sword and Barrett's gun.
Yep.
It's something definitely magical that we don't get too often nowadays.
And think about that from 2015. Before that, you'd have gone back 17 years or so, 18 years, just about, to get to the Final Fantasy VII original release on the PS1. So that's how long people were waiting for that remake. Just hoping. Because once you got to the PS2 and you saw Final Fantasy X, you were kind of like, oh man, these PS1 games are kind of crunchy. I mean, 10 was crazy. Like when 10 came out, it was like, whoa, this is. And then you go to the PS3 and Final Fantasy 13, even though, again, I know that's not the most popular one, but it looked really good. PS3 with Blu-ray and everything, uncompressed audio. It was an awesome experience on that device and showed where we were with visuals. The further we got away from 7, the more and more crunchy that thing looked for people. So it was cool to see. But think about it. Advent Children was awesome, right? Because we see Cloud and Sephiroth in like this high fidelity visual style. And then they hit us with the trailer that went through so much analysis because people were like, dude, this thing looks like Advent Children. Is this on the PS4? That's how it was, right? It's like, this is crazy. So there was so much hype around that. And then the unfortunate part is it didn't come out for like 5 years, but
Well, yeah,
whatever. We got it eventually and it was cool.
it's like after that, then like, oh, it turns out it's a
Are
trilogy.
we
The
still
first,
waiting for that to finish? Yes.
yeah.
The thing is, technically, yes, we are still waiting for that dream to come to fruition in 2025, 10 years later. So
That's the other kind of insane thing. We're still waiting for it to like be wrapped up. Oh God.
2027, 2028, 2027. I'm going 27 on that one.
I'm hoping 27.
Rebirth will be done by then.
Maybe I'll be done with Rebirth by that by
That's
then.
what I mean. You'll be done with Rebirth by then.
Oh man, I've only got like 2 weeks left. I gotta really get on this shit.
Oh, Death Stranding 2 is right there, dude.
I know. John, do I even play Mario Kart World? No, I don't think I
You
do.
could
Do
jump
I?
in for a little bit and play it. It's not a game where you're like, "Oh my gosh, I got to see what happens at the end of this story." But it's you're going to play it for a bit. It's fun. It's like one of those games where you can podcast, listen, right? You can sit
Oh, I did.
down, drive around in the big world, find
I
some P
played
switches.
I played one Grand Prix and I did do two P switches.
There you go.
That's
See?
it.
Yeah, so it's going to be a game that's going to be supported the whole generation anyway. So people are just like spending tons of time in it because it's like the one big game, obviously. But it's going to be around for a while. Trust me, Nintendo will support it probably for the next 8 years, maybe 10.
That's all I got, John. That's it.
That was a good episode.
Nice meaty episode.
Well, the next time we're back, it's gonna be right before Too Many Games.
Before TMG.
Right before.
Yeah, it would be.
Be like that 25th, 26th area, somewhere in there.
25th.
Depending on travel, maybe a little earlier. We'll see. What I want to do though is try to fit it right after Death Stranding reviews go live. Because I think the embargo is
23rd.
23rd. That's what I mean. Yeah. So I want to make sure we have those in the rearview mirror and we can kind of reflect a little bit on them and then kind of talk about them in non-spoiler way. Because again, I'm trying to avoid spoilers, but also look at how it fared with reviewers,
Right.
So that was kind of my thought process there. And then we will be at Too Many Games doing a live panel podcast of some kind. We'll see. We'll see what that turns into. Then we'll be doing a signing there too. It'd be a lot of fun. I don't know. Then we'll be just wandering around with Ryan asking people for Yu-Gi-Oh cards only to be offered Digimon cards.
I fully expect that there will be not that many Yu-Gi-Oh options. Once again, I also expect that I may or may not find the last one of 3 Pokemon Complete in Box games that I'm looking for. I'm also looking for some PS1 stuff this year. I'll be PlayStation game hunting.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm ready to hate my money.
Okay, there it is. Well, looking forward to it. But I guess that's it for episode 25 of Click R3. Shout out to everyone tuning in. Appreciate it. People have been actually the podcast continues to grow, Ryan.
That's good.
Continues. On the airwaves with the podcast services, people have been tuning in. People have been actually, some have been leaving like the upvotes or the comments on Spotify, and Spotify occasionally sends me a message and is like, "Hey, people are checking this out." So I appreciate that from all the people out there. Interaction on YouTube and Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to this, we do appreciate it. Helps out. So that's everything though. That's Mystic Ryan there. Check him out down below in the description, of course. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks to do it all over again. We'll see you then.